What's up, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to the Reinventing the Tattoo community. We're beaming out to several different places, so if you're watching, let us know that our streams are working by tagging a friend who loves tattoos, or, let us know where you're beaming in from. All of these network shows, art jams, drawing groups, interviews, panels, and webinars can be watched anytime at reinventing247.com. While you're there, guys, enter to win a goodie bag with cool samples from Shine Cartridges, Raw Pigments, and D-Lies Pro. We have several weekly shows and drawing groups, too. Some really cool stuff happening all the time. If you go to YouTube, you can schedule and remind yourself for some of our upcoming events. Every Sunday at 1 p.m., we have our Reinventing Drawing Group with Jason Leeser. Every Monday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, you can find myself, Gabe Ripley, and Jake Meeks with the Tattoo Weekly. Then Monday evenings at 9 p.m., we have our evening canon class with subscribers, led by Guy Aitchison. To join, subscribe to the canon at courses.reinventingthetattoo.com. Tuesday mornings, you can find Ricardo with his Reinventing Drawing Group at 10 a.m. Wednesdays at noon is the Tattoo Now show, and Thursdays at noon is the Tattoo Collecting podcast. Subscribers are also encouraged to join here for apprentices and fundamentals on Thursday mornings. The Reinventing Canon and other pro development courses can be found at courses.reinventingthetattoo.com. Before we get started, we want to say thank you to our sponsors for providing this community to you guys for free. We do have Alex at worldtattooevents.com. He's got the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events in the world. We've got rawpigments.co, an e-company that is tapping into the source with acrylic-free pigments that have been impressing artists across the globe. If you guys haven't tried them, sign up for one of those goodie bags at reinventing247.com to get your hands on some free samples. Also, thank you to Gabe at Tattoo Now, providing technology for tattooers, and the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo, Guy Aitchison. Find his Biomech Encyclopedia, DVDs, and machines, paintings, more, all at guyaitchison.com. We also have several affiliates that we would love to say thank you to as well. The Fireside Tattoo Network, the Apprenticeship Diaries, and ecofriendlytattoosupplies.com. Throughout the show, we welcome positive comments and reviews on our channels and would love for you to follow us. If you'd like to host a Reinventing event, sponsor the community, or even guest on the Tattoo Weekly, contact us at management@reinventingthetattoo.com. Now, I'm going to be off in the background reading off comments. Say, hey, what's up? Let us know where you're beaming in from, like I said. And we're going to go ahead and kick off the show, guys.
Alrighty, Jordan, how's it going?
Well, thank you, Lauren. It's going pretty good. Starting out the day over here alone. Still waiting for Fawn to pop in, but it's been a good day so far. I know we're going to get into some cool conversations a little bit later, or I don't know about how cool it necessarily is, but some interesting conversations on ink pigment, and they're starting to really take a look at what's in pigment and stuff. A lot more about this than what I do, but it's seemingly
it'll be fun to kind of just hear from you guys, share perspectives, because it's totally different from my perspective, your perspective, and of course it's collectors, so definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it too. I was going over a few articles this morning, and some things were really put it in perspective even more so, just how like colors and or not not necessarily colors, but how complementary colors and like how mixing colors and stuff. There's so many colors that are mixed with colors that they're potentially thinking about banning, which eliminates so many more colors.
Definitely.
But yeah. Oh, starting out the day here. Oh, Fawn will be here soon, so you gotta get to suffer through my little monologues for a little bit. Oh, well, happy holidays. Tattoo collecting episode number 60 something. Lauren, do you know what episode this is?
I think it might be 63, if I'm not mistaken.
63.
64.
64.
Wow,
That's crazy. We've been doing this for definitely over a year now. A year and Got a while, a couple months. Oh, well, what should we talk about off the bat? I think since Fawn's not here, let's go through some screen sharing and show maybe some of the work that I've been doing so far this week. Oh, still getting used to some things. We've been using Fawn's computer for so long, coming back to mine, trying to do some screen sharing and take a moment to figure this out. Sorry for the dead air, everybody. Yep. Sorry, everybody. Not the best at talking to myself, but we are going to go through some cool art. This right here. This is a painting I finished back in 2013 that I just kind of rehashed and put back up on my Instagram not too long ago. Called it Periscopes of Consciousness. It's a fairly large canvas I have hanging up in my tattoo room right now. This was a really fun piece. I spent probably 3 years detailing this. It was my first painting that I ever even worked on. Instead of working on a ton of paintings and just doing painting after painting, I just decided let's just put more into this painting. And I would just keep doing that for, 3 years straight. There is psychedelic drugs down into the paint. I wasn't tripping every time I worked on this, but there were plenty of days, where it'd just be like, oh, tripping today. Okay, well, let's go work on the painting a little while. Or I woke up that day with the full intention of today, we're going to spend the day working on, this area of the painting while tripping or putting a layer over it while doing that. Some days I'd just have some psychedelics laying there that I would just throw right into the paint. It was like, hey, what the hell? Why not? So don't touch this painting. But very inspired by psychedelic trips. This was my representation of my intention with this painting was to try to like get out the third eye. I wanted to, I was so young and just feeling so creative and things that like, I don't know, I just needed to like get out what was in my third eye. Like, what is the third eye? How can I express that into a painting? How can I express this like spirituality that I was exploring in my life at the time? And, just all of this creative energy, like I needed to do something. But oh, what was I going to say with it? Yep, spent 3 years on this, finished it in 2013, like pretty much right out of high school. I was working on this. And spent a couple years, just really wanted to learn how to paint. I did a couple paintings before this, but man, they were not, they really were nothing, and they weren't an exploration on much. And they were probably, okay paintings, but this was just a whole nother level of what I was doing. I didn't have a job at the time, so I would wake up and paint all day, every day. Eat, sleep, paint, poop, and smoke weed. Oh, what else about this? It used to have this awesome frame around it too. And so what I did was I took LED lights and I put LED lights around this entire frame of this painting. And it was more like a shadow box, a giant shadow box. This thing's probably, 4 foot long, 3.5 foot wide, or something like that. Or the other way around, 4.5 foot wide and 3.5 foot tall. So I put the LED lights around the shadow box frame, and the shadow box would pretty much just make it completely, it would look pretty, all the edges at least, and most of the painting would be fairly dark because it was a pretty big shadow box, which, you needed a lot of light to really show this thing off, right? That's why I took the shadow box off in the end. But there was also this really cool effect that was made with the LED lights that I used with this. And I wish I do got pictures and videos somewhere of it, but it was so many years ago when I had the LED lights around it, they went out, so on and so forth. But what I would do is when I was painting it, I did the last half of the painting with the actual LED lights in different spectrums. And so like I would work entire days in the red spectrum, and then I would work entire days in the orange spectrum, yellow, and just different ones, blue spectrum. When I'm in blue, all my ultraviolets and stuff, or all my ultraviolet colors and stuff, are my glowing colors and things are showing up way more. So I'm able to like put this whole new tinge on things. As soon as it goes into the blue spectrum, it just looks so much different, and it can, paint looks so much different. It reflects differently. It kind of has that black light effect. And yeah, that was the most fun one to work in too, because it just hit all of this cool stuff. It'd make it so, with the lights, they'd morph from one light to the next, go red and orange and to purple and to something into something into something. But as it was doing that, the entire painting looked like it was breathing. It looked like everything was moving, because the colors I used, they all just flowed together so well, naturally, because of the colors I chose, and just how they're going to look if you're changing the spectrums. It's already going to kind of have this cool effect like that. But also I just feel like with the intention of like trying to, when it would shift from one light to the next light, it would just it just had such a crazy transition, and so many things you would not see in one spectrum would be there in another. Like right now, you're not seeing everything. There are so many more things in this painting if you start changing the spectrums, that are just completely invisible unless they're in that spectrum, which is pretty cool, honestly. I mean, looking at it objectively, it's just kind of like reality. There's so many spectrums and things, and we can only see so many. And when you start revealing those spectrums, it's like, what else is there? What other things are in the air that I'm not seeing? A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Your entire internet is splayed in the air right now in your Wi-Fi signals, and you can't see any of it, but it's there. All right, let's look at some more. Here's a cool center portion of it. So periscopes of consciousness, I came up with that. And these little eyes here, they're kind of just like my, spiritual observers. They're the spirit behind it all, that's kind of observing the entire thing happening. Maybe something like that. Totally interpretable. Spent a lot of hours thinking about things, deconstructing those ideas, putting those ideas back together, thinking, oh, this is what this means. Oh no, this isn't what this means. This actually means this. And one idea evolving to the next. And this painting's been so many different things, whether it was like physically, I painted over so many different things and changed it. And, or, my ideas for things that I had in it, what I wanted it to mean, or what I wanted this to represent would change. I wouldn't even change anything painting wise, change the picture, but the way I thought about an image in the painting would change completely. And like, as that would change, that would influence my decisions for the next things that I would do into the painting. And so there was just this huge evolution of one thing to the next. I don't know, at the time in my life when I was working on this painting, it was the most important thing I've ever done. Like, not that like I needed the ego gratifying thing of like, oh, I did a painting, like look what I did type thing. It wasn't a look what I did. It was a revealing this to myself. I was revealing the painting to myself. I was revealing the painting to the universe. I felt like it was this culmination of um it's culmination of everything I was up until then. But I was lucky enough to be a painter and be an artist and someone who could like put that into the universe. And it wasn't that like I can't wait for people to see what I did. Like I said, it was, I can't wait to see what comes out. I can't wait to see what the universe has to show me. I can't wait to see what I have to show myself. But like a lot of times, like, of course, I spend a lot of time thinking about what I want in a painting, but also there's so much that comes out that's just thoughtless. It's just not even a part of my thought process. I realize the more comes out, the less I think. The more I think, the harder it is for me to work. And harder it is for me to come up with ideas and things. I feel like they come in a weird flow state, and then they go and then they come back. And then that influences the next decision of like, oh no, now I want this. So there's thinking in there, but there's also like, I'm trying to say is that there's art coming from somewhere else. It's not just, I don't think, it's a culmination of a lot of things, if that makes any sense. Feel like it's not just clarifying that it's not just coming from me. It's coming from a place beyond me, like almost like, I don't want to say the spirit world, but like, another dimension beyond myself. Like I'm a circuit for some of this stuff to come through me, but it passes through the filter of me and I get to direct it in a way that's, like the taper of my consciousness. It's a taper of, who I am, the thoughts I've had put into one moment and into each intention and everything into this picture. I know that's vague, but I don't know. It's wild. Like I said, I reveal it to myself, and then it's I go back and I'm like, what? Why did this? What does this mean? Why did I do this? Like, look at that guy right there. Look at that guy. I honestly don't even remember painting him in there, and it's so cool. Come like looking back at this stuff and just being like, oh, I have an alien. He's like holding on to a dude. He's just like coming out of here, kind of holding on to him. And while like, in the times that I was painting this and it was a few years before this, this was at the tail end of when I was having a lot of my own experiences, with fucking weird shit, it's the UAPs and UFOs and stuff like that. And so, it was an interest. It was something going through my mind a lot. I wanted to express it because I didn't understand, what was going on. I needed some frame of reference. I needed some expression with it. You can talk about UFOs to people all fucking day, forever. No one's going to totally get it, or no one, no one understands with words and things. And they might be, that's really cool. It's cool. It's cool. But they just don't, no one's going to, until you have the experience, it doesn't, it's hard to hold on to. I'm not saying like, yeah, I drew an alien. Like, look, I've seen UFOs. It's not like that, but it's just minor way of expressing the fact that that's something, it's something within my consciousness that, matters or that's relevant in any sort of way. But looking at that's just creepy. After it's so cool looking at a painting too, so many years after working on it, because I don't see it for the brush strokes I put down. All I could see while I was working on this was the brush strokes. All I could see is this dark area, these dark parts and these light parts. I wasn't seeing the images as much. I knew they were there, but I was working so hard to make them those images. I wasn't thinking about what I don't know. There was a layer of things I wasn't seeing. I couldn't see it like like if someone like you, anyone here, like anyone was like anyone else who was looking at it, I would see it from all the things I did to create it, which sometimes takes away from the actual value of what it is. Like, yeah, each expression, on every one of these faces were very intentional. Like I spent the time trying to create expression and trying to, if there's a frown, I made that frown. Like if there's a certain way the face is, like I tried to have it that way. But also as a whole, I'm doing those things, but you don't end up seeing it as a whole while you're doing it. You're trying to create this whole piece. But also when you stand back and look at it for what it is, you're like, damn, this is something completely different. I see it 100% different. It looks like a painting someone else did when I look at it now. And technically, there's so many things that like nowadays I'm not satisfied with. Like if I painted this now, like there's a lot of things I just would have done totally different, technique wise, the way I mix colors, the way I did so many things. But man, I still just love this painting for the energy that went into it and how important it was in my life. This thing changed my life completely. Taught me how how in love I could be with art, but it also taught me so much about myself because this entire painting I used as an exploration to get to know myself more. Half the times I was working on this, at least half of it, I was meditating beforehand. I'd spend however as long as I could, before, like I said, I didn't have a job. I didn't have, I was young. I was lucky. It's harder for me to spend 3 years on a painting now that I'm super busy. But, then I didn't have a job. I you know, wasn't paying a ton in rent. I was able to wake up and paint, a lot freer and, didn't have a girlfriend or anything like that. So I'm just putting all my hours into this happily. And yeah, so I just did a lot of experimenting with spirit and spirituality and meditation. And, I was already on my own road of psychedelics. I wasn't a super recreational psychedelic user. It was like I wanted to take psychedelics and fucking close my eyes for 12 hours or, take acid or mushrooms and, paint for a while, but I didn't paint a ton tripping, but I have painted a lot. I never felt super comfortable doing it. I had a lot of fun, but no technique came out of it. I couldn't use technique. I could only be in flow state. So I could get down cool ideas, but I couldn't finesse those ideas. So I would use that time to get things in and start to structure and like come up with ideas and come up with certain things. And then I'd go back when I was sober and really detail them out because when I'm sober, I can paint way better. But I don't know, in all that and having the intention being, to try to get to know myself more, to try to express as much as I could about, oh man, whatever this energy was inside of me. Yeah, made it kind of, definitely life changing because it just made it just, it was my spiritual practice. This is like my proof in the pudding for a couple of years of really working hard to be better in general, not just at painting, but be better human. So like each corner, to get on another thing of like some more things about the painting would be that in each corner where you see all of those different, let me get back to one of these big pictures. I have all of these little vortexes in each corner, right? This one's kind of missing, but there's still some spacey shit going on here. So I think he's still in there. But those were the chakras. I wanted to kind of fit them in there in a way that wasn't directly, the way they've always been seen. But even the geometry that I used to create these is very much based on the geometry, of, the thousands of years of practice of the chakras and what the geometries of those systems are, the geometries of the energetic systems. And these would be two-dimensional representations, but the way I split the circles, the way the circles are overlapping to create the geometries, the spin of the vortexes, the flow of them. I'm not saying they're 100% accurate depictions, but I try to do them in a way that really hasn't been done, but also using correct what's the word for it, terminology, correct because it's not quite science, but correct spirit science, let's say. Correct spirit science. But I was doing a lot of focus on the chakras at that time, and they've always been it's always been my kind of system for self-help and my system for spirituality and becoming better and a better person. It creates a great structured system of life. So I even had it so there's 7 chakras, there's 7 days of the week. So, and I used that with the spectrums of the colors of the paintings that I was working on with this. So like you have the root chakra here. So this would be the root chakra. This would be the sacral chakra. So first chakra, second chakra. This would be the solar plexus chakra, the third one, This right here would be the fourth. This is the heart chakra. We're going here to the throat chakra. And then from throat chakra to third eye. So this would be the third eye. So third eye geometries. We'll get into some closer ups of this in a minute. One moment. Okay. Oh yeah. So we got the chakras there. And third eye, we get to crown. So the crown chakra is here and the owl. Cat is knocking things off the counter. So owl, spirit animal at the time. I was very focused on barn owls, love barn owls. They're just something to them. And so I use that as the my crown chakra. So what we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, yeah. So there's no chakra over here. No wonder. More spacey. So crown chakra. We also got the alien up here, in the crown chakra area, up in the higher realms there. I got this demonic female here from years and years ago. Just some weird demonic reptilian female energy. Definitely not a representation of all females, but mm, some negative energy was going on there, but also positive energy. It's got it. It's got it all. But there's a reptilian back there for whatever. No direct meaning with all that. Just is what it is. I felt right to get it on in there. Reptile. Reptile. So whale here, we can't really see him. Tons of faces all up in that stuff we can't see. But let's get into some closer ups. Maybe this area. One moment. Stare at this for just a second. Yep, here's a little bit more detail up in this area. Gosh, I really want to zoom up into it a little bit more. Oh, I can. Yeah, here's some better ones. So yeah, we kind of got some detail up in there. Had a lot of fun with that. This whole thing was, oh, I wish I had the drawing of it right now. I have it somewhere. But there was I probably spent, I spent a quarter of the time I spent painting it, drawing it. I spent so much time drawing it, which I just don't spend that much time doing that. I try to get things done, try to get my drawing done as quick as possible, but also as detailed as possible. I want my shades in there. I want to know what to jump into. But this thing, everything was just drawn to high heaven. This reptile, so drawn in there, and so many little details of the grids around him and the grids around the female's face and all the DNA stuff. Everything was drawn in there and then painted over, which I got different techniques now. I can do things way faster. I'd probably finish this painting in a couple months now, honestly, if I did it now. Back then, it took me 3 years. I had no idea everything I did. I was learning how to do it. I draw stuff in there. Then it's like, how do I paint something I draw over? I just penciled it in, and if I paint over my pencil, I'm not gonna know what to draw. No, no, now it doesn't matter. But back then, it'd be like, cool. Now I'm gonna paint over all of the stuff I shaded in with a pencil. I need to figure out how to, go back into the shades that I put down because I'd shaded all, and I needed to know how to do all the shades, and that was, how I seen it. So I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird thing. But all in all, very fun. Did a lot of exploration. Taught me so much about art. To anybody who likes to paint and anybody who has an interest in painting, God, all I can do is advocate for it because I'm absolutely in love with it. In love with it. And just getting lost in a painting for so long like this, I think there's some people see it as this overwhelming thing. A painting can seem super overwhelming and it can seem like this huge task, especially if someone says they've been working on it for something for 3 years. You're like, oh man, I can't imagine working on something for 3 years. But it's not about that. You can't think about how long something's going to take. In some sense, you can prepare yourself, a little bit, but also don't get discouraged. You love the process. Get lost in the painting. Don't get lost in what you want that end result to be. Don't get lost in what you want that end result to be. that will destroy you. It's destroyed me so many times. It's one of the biggest lessons I've taught myself. I can spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours thinking about what I want for my painting, thinking about what I want the next layers of paint to look like, the next whatever's to look like on the painting, but it doesn't get there. It won't get there unless I put the paintbrush down to the painting. And if you're seeing that as every stroke is like this uphill process, maybe painting's not for you, or maybe there's something, I don't say it's not that it's not for you. It's that there's another way to see this, there's another way to go about this. And there's probably a way you can figure out to paint that you're going to love. You just have to let go of a few things. You have to let go of a few, what you want, let go of what you want for the painting, and then really start to get into where you're at, and don't even think about it of where you're at. Like, this is, I want to be better at these, and I can only work as good as I am. Cool. No, work as good as your hand can move on the paper, and don't think about it much until it's on there. Just work on the canvas. Just get that fucking painting down on the canvas, and you'll teach yourself as you go. Direct yourself as much as possible, but don't overthink things. If you find yourself doing nothing for a half an hour staring at your canvas, either walk away or just put the paintbrush down to the canvas. Just put your paintbrush down to the canvas. It will help out so much. Well, unless you just love staring at your canvas too. I mean, sometimes I do that. I've definitely spent hours and hours and hours doing nothing. All of my paints out, all of my paints ready to go. And I just can't put my hand down. Just lost in thought, lost in all these things I can imagine for my painting. And sometimes I love it. I love that feeling of just getting lost, having something that I can spend so much time just being, do I want this like this? Am I going to want this way, this way? How do I want to change that? Do I want to completely wipe away something and do something new here? Maybe I should see this completely differently and try something completely new on this painting. I love all that, but you can also get lost in it, and you can get lost in it in a way that it'll be hard to get back from. Not hard to get back from. Don't let me say that I tuned up for a second. In a way that it'll just keep you from working, and you can think you're being productive, but then you realize that 8 hours went by and you painted 3 of those hours and you were sat down for 8. What happened to those other 4 or 5 hours? Oh, I was thinking, you're sitting down in front of your painting, like, that's still painting time. You can still tell people it's painting time if you're just staring at it. That's fine. But in reality, artistic karma, artistic, how we push ourselves, how can we make our process a little bit better? But that's even farther from the point. Getting lost in a painting is a lot of fun, and get lost in the process. Don't get lost in what you want the end result to be. The process is what's fun, and that's where the most fun should be had. Paintings are a pain in the ass if all you want is the end result. You just want to do things quickly. You'll beat around the bushes and things like that. You won't spend the time enjoying the little details. Like, I get so much thrill sometimes when I can just be pushing a brown around or pushing a color, any color around, and just seeing the way the paint is moving on the canvas with the brush, the way it's absorbing into the gesso, the way it's moving around on top of already painted layers, and the way I can move that into different areas and stuff, and blend it into something, or turn, do anything. I don't know. I'm just in love with all those little movements, not necessarily like, ooh, look what this is doing. It's like, or, it is what this is doing, but it's not necessarily like, oh, I've created this end result from it. It's like, man, look at this one thing after another. It's the feeling of this paintbrush touching the canvas mixed with the paint creating this little result. But like, who cares what that result is? You can go for one thing, what you want, I don't know, you can have a direction, but also it's so much fun just to be free and just to start fucking around, putting things on the canvas and looking at it like a cloud. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I was just putting down these big old fluffy shapes that meant nothing to me, but now all of a sudden that kind of looks like a T-Rex head. Well, maybe that's a dinosaur now. So I'm going to add a little tooth here, and I'm going to add a little eye here, and a little this here. And all of a sudden, it's a goddamn T-Rex. It might be a cloudy, weird, abstract T-Rex, but man, that's the cool intention to it. You have just applied your consciousness to art, to something. And now it's art because you did that. You had a vision. Maybe it was a vision of a tooth. It was a vision of a T-Rex, but you found it in nothingness. You found it in abstract blobs that maybe you wanted to look like a T-Rex in the first place. Maybe you didn't, but That's what you came up with. It's what's happening. Those motherfuckers haven't been around for millions and millions of years, and you just happen to put one on a canvas. I think it's a pretty cool thing. Easily squandered and taken for granted. Oh man, I just spouted off for like a half an hour. There's a lot to talk about with this painting. I could talk for days about painting. We will talk about tattooing. I promise. Fawn will be here soon. And I will stop ear beating you. We'll stop ear beating you. But we'll give this a final look over. Anything I missed? Yeah, lots. But everything's kind of wordless with this. I've explained a lot of things, but really it's for your own interpretation. Oh, one thing I did miss. The center is the sun. Consider the center of the sun. Everything around it, that's all space. However you want to fill space, it is what it is. But really, that's ether. It's all ether. So what we got here is the sun is here. I actually have the earth right here underneath. It's actually a little quartz crystal coming out of the earth. Yeah. Real hippie there, but gotta love me some quartz. Yep, and I have the planets aligned in different areas. You can't see them unless you're up close. They're also 3D, so they stick out, so you can make them out a little bit more. But it's exactly where the planets were when I was born. If you were to see them from above, two-dimensionally. And so I just wanted to add a little thing in there. Wasn't like, oh, cool, this is gonna be in there. Put so much meaning in my painting. A little layer of personalization. I want it to be an expression of my third eye, one human being's third eye, and my culmination of what the universe was to me at the time, as much sense as it makes or not. I guess. Another thing that I didn't mention, kind of probably hard to tell on a small phone if you're watching on a small phone or anything. Let me get my cursor back over here. So this area here where you got this DNA strand, so you got the sun over here, and the sun actually, there's a lot going on here. You got the fusion factory, it is creating atoms, it is creating stuff and elements, and things for the universe. Everything's getting created from the stars. But what we have here is we have quarks, and then we have electrons and quarks moving into electrons, moving into full-scale atoms right here. And those atoms, we got an atom right here. So we got the quarks into electrons, into atoms, and then we're starting to get molecules. Molecules are then moving into the DNA. The DNA is moving into all of this other stuff. I had to tell you guys about that. But yeah, hopefully you get a chance to see this in person. A couple years of my life went into this. It's crazy that can happen, and then just put it on a wall. It's done. And then I could never, there was probably 3 years I didn't look at it one time. It's just like in my basement off to the side. Probably could have been thrown away, and I wouldn't have thought about it much after that. Not a good thing to do with your art, but man, it's something to go back and look at that, especially from something 10 years ago. So Fawn's trying to get in here soon. She's getting her audio working. I am still going to go through a few more things that I have to share with you guys. This is a recent piece I've been working on. This is a cool astronaut, not a spaceman or a spacewoman. This is a space they. We do not know, but there is Earth. He's falling away from Earth and he's sucked into this black hole. Kind of came up with the concept a little bit. He wanted something reflecting into the head or into the visor. So I'm like, cool, say no more. This was my last tattoo I worked on, so this was 2 days ago. I haven't really looked at it since. It's kind of cool looking back and seeing. I'm really happy with the way that visor reflection turned out. Very happy with that. Oh, this was a video. As you can hear, Always Sunny in the background. If you get tattooed by me, Always Sunny will always be in the background. Who knows what season or what episode? If you left off from an episode the last time I seen you, we'll leave off from that episode. Just tell me which one. But I will continue watching Always Sunny with you until I die. There will probably be 2 other shows that we introduced, but we will always be watching Always Sunny. Smash them up. Smash them up. So Blunt Buddy Fawn's gone. So no blunties. No blunties today. I might roll up a bluntie here pretty soon. But thank you for listening and being patient as through my monologues here. Started off a little rocky. I didn't know what I was gonna say, but God, I can go on forever about the paintings. I see Fawn. Hey Fawn, can you hear me? Can Fawn hear anything? Fawn can hear nothing. I'm going to end my screen share. Hello. Hey, it's Fawn. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello. I hear stuff. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
All right. What
Where
orient?
where are you at?
So so oddly enough, I happen to be inside of a fully equipped recording and broadcasting
I know.
studio.
I see all those foam squishies in the background. I'm like, you look
This
like
is
you're in the
Ray.
studio.
This is Ray. We've
Hey,
got
hey, how's it going, man?
however,
What's that?
Good to meet you, Ray.
we couldn't find the right adapters. So I've got all of this technology behind me and I'm coming in from my cell phone.
No,
It's all right.
dongleless.
Yeah, I was able to hear you talking about your paintings and stuff for the last few minutes while I was trying to get things together. But
Oh, nice. Yep, I've been spouting off about that since 12. Just going through the painting and everything I went through with that painting. It kind of it was kind of fun. I've never really sat and talked about it like that.
like how much actually went into it?
Yeah. What went into it, my feelings towards it, the kind of like what I was going through when I went through it. Spent a couple of years on it and just every single, didn't have a job. And through those 3 years, I just woke up and went to sleep thinking about that painting or working on that painting. And it was also like I don't know if you've seen what painting I'm talking about and seen the video, but the one that's in my room at the tattoo studio. But I lost my train of thought completely. What was I just about to say about that?
We were talking about your paintings.
Oh, I know. I was going to say something about it though that I forgot.
How you just
Oh
get
yeah.
stuck.
Oh yeah. I was going to say it was my first painting that I ever did, and I worked 3 years on it. But also, like, there were months in between where I wasn't working on it. But instead of working on a ton of different paintings, I basically just jumped into that painting, and like I was like, cool. Every time I want to do a new painting, I'm going to add something to this painting. And I really like that. I feel like I could have done it differently, and I would have done it differently and probably could finish the painting in a couple months if I did it now. But, everything I did was an exploration into, how to do, or, how to figure out. Everything was just trying to figure things out.
How old were you when you started?
What was that?
How old were you when you started that?
So I started that in 2010. So I was a senior in high school. I just got out of senior in high school. So started that then and finished it 2013. I did one other painting before that, but it really wasn't much. wasn't much. It was kind of cool. It was this weird alien thing, but it was also like, I don't know. Wasn't the other one.
Oh, there we go. That's the best way to kill all the lights behind my head. I just set them.
Nice.
So sorry for the rigmarole joining you today, Jordan. I thought it would be a little bit quicker and easier, but
It's all right. It's all right. I thought, yeah.
the right.
Yeah, it's
but
all good.
I was so overdue for my massage today. I needed it so bad. I feel so much better. My so jacked, but she got shape. Now I'm good to go for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm glad you got that in. But cool.
Seems
We still
man,
podcasting. Everything's still good. Glad you have you on.
We're the diehards, man.
Yeah, we don't miss it. We don't miss a beat. I swear, you and me, we've really only out of 64 episodes, we've only missed a couple, honestly.
Oh. The special brownie.
Probably got special brownie. Edibles.
Yeah, look at this. Maybe I need to broadcast from here more often. And I was given this earlier. I'm going to give this a try. It's a CBD. Is it a CBD drink?
Are you drinking that right now? You're just pounding all those edibles down?
Well, not yet. I'm just I'm settling in.
I see. Settling. So who's your buddy Ray? What's going on over there? Oh, yeah.
If you step over here, this is my buddy Clayton. I've mentioned Clayton a few times. Come. This is guys. Clayton.
Oh, hey, Clayton.
This is basically Clayton's grown man fantasy factory. We're upstairs bar/pizza place. There's a pool table in the other room, office, toys to make things, and then he's got a broadcasting studio where Ray and another good friend of ours, Scott Shawver, have like a local nonprofit radio station. Is that a good way to, in a nutshell, local nonprofit radio?
Oh, that's really awesome.
There's only it's one of 3 blue stations in the country or something. I don't know. It's a low power radio station.
It's a low power radio station, but Marion Makes Music is the charity, if you'd like to check it out.
Okay. Very cool.
So yeah, we've got all kinds of goodies. We've got all kinds of drinks. We've got all kinds of fun. This is actually, I've been telling Ben I want to get him up here. Like, I think in reality, we could probably use this space anytime we wanted to, but I want to get you up here so you can see like all the equipment, like outside of what you and I have amassed, like all the equipment at our disposal if we needed it. And then just having like a legit, like we've got broadcasting equipment, but this is like a full-on recording studio. So you can get like quality, super perfect sounds, instrument recordings, everything. So
very cool.
When the time comes, we do have this at our disposal to come and play with and broadcast from. If we actually have like, say like a whole entourage of people and we need like an organized room where we all need to be able to work from, we've got this. We got the mothership, and then an hour away, we've got the backup plan. That's what we should call the backup plan.
Nice. Hey, give me just 1 second.
Well, we lost Jordan. I guess that's what I get. I'll keep you entertained for just a moment while Jordan figures out what's going on. It's been such a crazy week. I've had a lot of like crazy, like not necessarily like hectic, chaotic, but a lot of out of the ordinary things going on this week. And it seems like today's finally my like back to normal, sitting back into like the regularly scheduled programming, instead of running around doing family things and holiday things. From today through Christmas, I'll be back into like just my regular rigmarole. No extra, no drama, no. So it'll be nice. After today's mix up, the next few weeks we should be ready to roll, on task, fewer interruptions and hiccups. But so later on today, I don't know, Jordan, did you talk about this at all yet? later on today when Lauren joins us, we'll be talking about the blue and green ink ban that's kind of going on in Europe. Have you been following that at all, Jordan? We got no sound. I can't hear you.
Whoops, sorry, I was still muted. Yeah, I read through that article that you sent. I've seen a few other articles. I've been reading a little bit about it, but I haven't been following it a ton because it's just like it's one of those things, I don't know, I'm not in the pigment industry and all that. There's not a ton that I can do myself. And honestly, a part of me doesn't believe that it can happen, but it kind of is happening a little bit. But it also does, I don't know. I can see it on both sides. It's the more I read about it, the more I see it from both sides.
Did you and Lauren talk about this at all before you went live?
No,
Okay.
no, she didn't join at all.
Yeah, we were just kind of like gossiping a little bit between us. I'm just always so curious. There are a lot of things going on. There are a lot of things going on in the industry right now that don't have anything to do with the ink ban, but could possibly affect the outcome of it. So Lauren's super in the loop, and I really want to. I'm looking forward to talking to her about, like, she just knows so much more about the inner workings of the ink industry than I do. I mean, I know enough to sit and speculate, but not really to like know who's doing what and whose motivations are what. And so I'm really excited to talk to her about that, because I've even got a lot of clients who have asked me what's going on with it. And I have limited information, but it's really hard to like break it down as to why it's important to collectors. So I think that's going to be a really cool topic to get into today. And then other than that, like, I'm just kind of like, I'm stoked that when I joined in, you were just talking about your paintings, because we've got, I don't know, I've got like this whole slew of new work that I'm super excited about. A lot of it's in really early phases, but there's just like this whole next level that I feel like my work is stepping up to. And now that we're like in winter season, I paint more during the winter. So it makes me excited, like seeing your old paintings and seeing my old paintings and the new tattoo work that I'm doing. It's like, what's this next chapter
Right.
of painting gonna be
Right.
like?
I've been feeling super motivated lately too. I feel like the creative juices have been flowing a little bit more, and just sitting here talking the past half hour about my old painting and stuff, and kind of going into that. I feel like right now it's even got me kind of excited to get back to the canvas. I've been working on a couple little canvases too as Christmas presents. Just, some little guys, but they've been a lot of fun to work on. What'd you say? Oh yeah. Once I got him right behind me. Let me grab him. So we got Emily here, but she's going to be a little bit off camera. We're going to be smoking a blunt here. I got a blunt buddy. So been working on this guy. This is one of them. If y'all know, this is Lil Peeps. Lil Peep. So been painting this for one of Emily's friends. Hopefully he's not a popular listener. But
Ruining the surprise.
Yeah, right. So yeah, this is a fun little thing. I got to go back over a few things, but I did finish. I just got to do the border of this one too. So I got these little series of these guys.
They're totally not your everyday Jordan, but they're so good.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I was like, man, some little anime characters. I'm like, I should be able to do that really well.
I almost, as much as I love doing like crazy landscapes and crazy abstract stuff, there's something that's so fun about just drawing and tattooing cartoons, like things that already exist, and then just taking that and then embellishing it and pushing it a little bit further. There's just something cool and really fun. You know what I mean? It's not like not the same challenge as building something from scratch. It's like you're taking an idea, a character, thing that already exists, and you're pushing it even further. You play with colors, see how you can make it more eye-catching, but it's like the brain work is in other areas because the think work's already kind of been done.
Right. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. And I think stepping back and like doing something that wasn't so detailed. I think we both are pretty detailed artists, and I've been doing a lot of things that have just been very detailed lately. And so being able to like step back into something it's simpler, it's just got, I don't know, it's just got different rules. And I like the rules. They're a little bit simpler, and like it's just bolder. I have to make sure things are super set. It's kind of like that more traditional way of going about things, instead of having a ton of detail everywhere, it's like making sure that like the way the color fill is like perfect, and making sure like the cell shading looks good and things, which I'm just not used to cell shading at all, which is that's kind of fun. My brain wants to go into detailing gradients and stuff, but I'm like, no, don't gradient, just cell shade.
Just the tiniest touches here and there. So
You should be. Emily is here too. We might hear her. She's gonna be working off this mic as well, if she feels like talking.
Just hiding visually 'cause I just got back from acupuncture and my eyes feel like glued together.
How was
Oh.
that?
It was amazing.
Was
you
it?
feel
Tell us all about it. We need to know.
What was that, Fawn?
I said, I bet you feel the same as me. I literally my deep tissue massage on my shoulders, and I feel like a whole new woman.
Oh, yep, absolutely.
It hurts so bad, but feels so good at the same time.
Yeah, I'm a baby with deep tissue massages. Like, I'm like in tears, and they're like, I know I wanted it, but slow down.
Right. How was the acupuncture? What did they do to you?
It was wild. First of all, I saw the lovely Ben Reif.
He was there?
Yep.
Ben was there.
I parked right next to him because I thought it was funny.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. I love it.
Yep. But it was great. It was way different than I thought it'd be. I didn't realize, like, I thought it was like just like some standard, like, oh, everyone gets these same needles in the same spot, and because that's how that works, we're just gonna work on physical problems. No, he was coming in there and he's like, oh, I can tell you have low blood pressure. Like, that seems normal though, right? I was like, how do you know that? By hovering your hands. Like, it was just like a lot of small like touch work all over your body, and just to feel where energy is going. And he's like, oh, the left lung has a little bit of heat on it. Do you have a runny nose? I'm like, yeah, I do.
Huh?
Just
No way.
so insightful, and they're so precise, and just it didn't hurt at all. Like,
The needles didn't?
no,
Yeah.
no. I think they used like 10 needles on my front, and then I flipped over to my back. I was like, oh,
They only
I
did
thought
like
I
10
was-
needles?
yeah, that's what I thought too. Apparently, it just changes on what you need for the day.
Okay.
Some people might get 30 neals, some might get
Gotcha.
5.
Yeah, I remember Ben told me the first day he went, or maybe not. No, I shouldn't say the first day because I don't remember him saying first day. But when he went, he at some point he was covered from head to toe completely. Then they had him flip over, and then he was completely head to toe.
Yep.
And I was like, "That's wild! I didn't know. I figured it'd be like this."
I had some in my face, some in my head. At one point, I got really, they put the eyebrow needles in, and then I got really dizzy, like a little bit after putting some stuff in my wrist.
Huh.
And I was like, uh-oh, I'm spinning. So they went and got the other guy who's like the head guru guy. And he's like, oh, that just means your blood pressure's dropping a little bit. Just let me do one thing, and took out a different needle, put a different one somewhere else, put one on the top of my head, and like massage
What?
part of my foot. He's like, feel better? I was like, yeah. Like,
What? That's some magician shit.
It was all magician shit, the whole thing. It was a magic show.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're feeling great about it. You're ready to go back.
I'm ready to go back. I'm thinking about changing careers.
Hear that,
Just
Fawn?
kidding on that part, but
Ready to change careers.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to start acupuncturing?
it was just amazing. I was really impressed, and I don't know, they were really sweet and really nice and cared about what they're doing. I got some herbs to take.
Oh man,
I like herbs, so
that's awesome.
yeah, I got more care and insight on my own body from an hour with the acupuncturist I just met than I have in like 6 total doctor visits and my chiropractor. So anyone out there who apparently is alien from anything at all, headaches, nausea, whatever, he asked about my bladder, he was asking about everything. They can work on it, apparently.
That's awesome. Acupuncture. I go next week. I can't wait. I'm gonna have him work on my hump.
Yeah. Have you gone?
I got a hump. If y'all didn't know, my back does this thing. It's not a real hump. It's like
It's a tattoo hump.
yeah, I got thick tenderloins. Thick back
Wow.
straps.
Wow. That's hilarious.
I always joke because his humps are always popping after he gets done working. So he's sitting there on his back straps.
They'd be tasty. They would be really tasty. If you hunted me, you should never hunt no man, but if you did, they'd be tasty.
Jesus. Have you done acupuncture, Vaughn?
I'm gonna ask if I had done cannibalism.
Have you tried human?
What is it? The long pink?
Not like
The what?
The long pink?
The long pink?
Yeah.
Is that what they call human meat? she knows she's eating human meat.
they,
I'm just kidding. She is not eating human meat.
no, I have not done acupuncture. I definitely am all about some deep tissue massage. I'm definitely all about some chiropractic care. I would definitely subscribe to acupuncture. I do think it could be beneficial. I just haven't done it.
Highly recommend. Ben's the one who turned us onto it, and yeah, my mind is blown right now.
My mind is blown that he ended up being there too. He was the one, he recommended this person to me for her because I was mentioning sciatica.
Like 6 weeks ago.
And yeah, 6 weeks ago. And he was like, dude, it changed my life. He's like, I spent years, like he said, it was getting debilitating. He's like, this shit made me feel psychotic. It was so bad. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. He's like, I went to the acupuncturist one time. He's like, it fixed it completely. And I was just like, no fucking way. He's like, yeah, dude, I'll send you the information. Because I was telling the conversation started because I was telling him about Emily's got sciatica and having hip problems and stuff. It sounded like he was having somewhat similar sciatica problems.
I feel like when you've got anything going on that is like impeding on your body's like neurological like energy and information transfer, it's going to cause pain, and it's going to cause, and like the funny thing is like sometimes like where the block is or where the thing is, it's not even where the pain presents itself. And that's what's so magic about acupuncture. They're so in tune with the neurological system.
It was wild. He touched like my right calf on the inside and goes, how's your uterus? How are your cycles? I was like, I mean, they're terrible. I have endometriosis. He's like, yeah, I can feel it. I'm like, you're touching my calf. What? He's like, and just talking about energy blockages. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize how Reiki-esque similar this was going to be. But I liked it. And then they did some weird stuff where they burned me.
How so?
But like put like some mugwort on you, and then they like ignite it with incense really briefly and then extinguish it.
Huh.
Yeah. It's supposed to like pull the red and white blood cells to the area. So like a hack to quick healing for like a specific target area. And they did it like 30
They do it
different
on your
little
hip?
dots. Mhm.
Oh shit. That is very cool. How are you feeling right now? How is your hip feeling?
Very good.
Is it?
Yep. Very good.
Which is wild because that's, your sciatica, is pretty bad. It hurts a lot all the time. So to have it feeling good right now is great. It's great. Yeah.
Yep. Pretty soon Olive Red Tree is going to be hanging out there.
Acupuncture Thursdays. Acupuncture Thursdays. We'll go have a podcast from there.
I'm always trying my massage therapist into joining us too. He's a tattoo collector. Actually, today we were just talking about her oldest son is getting ready to get his first tattoo from, his name's Brenton Potter. He's another Ohio tattooer, but he's fantastic.
Okay.
Kind of cool to like, to like experience by proxy somebody going through their child's first tattoo. It's such a different kind of like nervous and apprehension than when you can get your own first tattoo. As a parent, to watch your child get their first tattoo, that nervousness has got to, I don't know, like, are they going to love it? Are they going to hate it? Is it going to be good? Are they going to get addicted? Are they going to get covered in tattoos? Are they going to?
Yeah, I can only imagine. I was 100% ignorant of what my parents thought. That was the last thought.
Oh yeah, like what kind of journey is about to start here? Like it's like a few and done? Is this going to be a lifelong thing? Like, but I want to have her on. One of the things I like about my massage therapist in particular is very she's very intuitive, and she's very she works with the chakras a lot. I don't know that she necessarily talks with all of her clients about this, but it's one of the things that drew me. Just so knowledgeable about chakra health and energy balance within the body. Like, she's all about the anatomy of the body as well. But once you start talking about the spiritual health of different body,
She probably opens up about that, where it's like, oh, cool, you know, you go a little, you want to go a little deeper. Cool, we'll go a little deeper.
Yep. No, I like it. And I like that, like, I'm comfortable enough with her to like be vulnerable and let her in and let her like feel the different energies in my body. You know what I mean? Like, if you lay down next to somebody all tense and staunch and like your muscles are tight just because, it's going to make the whole process like less beneficial. But if you're already like, if your guard's down and your energies are exposed, and I feel like if you've got an intuitive practitioner, whether it's massage therapy, acupuncture, chiropractic care, like whichever one of those body health care, like the more you can relax, the more beneficial and the more work your practitioner can do. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
So
That makes
first,
sense.
it can be amazing, but once you've gone a few times and once you've like shared a few life stories and you start like building a relationship, it's like, then those energies become even that much more exposed. So the person working on you can work more easily with those energies.
Right.
So
Just such a deeper mutual trust. That's,
yeah,
as you get to know them and trust them more and realize like, okay, cool, this is someone I can really get along with, and not someone who's just going to like take advantage of my energy or my money and be like, you know, just another, you know, $100, you know, massage appointment with a cool Reiki healing real quick. Cool. You're healed. Well, you know, I rubbed my hands above you while you were closing your eyes and stuff, and, you know, massaged you. Now you're good. I feel like it's so much deeper when you know the person and you like.
I think you hit a key part though. I think that's like a fundamental part of any sort of like self-healing is like, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. You know, we even talked to, she's like, okay, so for some people, like, you know, energy stored in these body parts that we just released into your blood, and that might bring out different like actual emotions. So you got to be willing to work through that to continue with this path. And I was like, that makes sense. I mean, I feel the same way with yoga. The other day at yoga, there was a couple stretch. I'm like, do I have tears coming? Am I crying right now? Like, this is so like, you know, helpful. I think you can say the same thing for tattooing, especially when, you know, they're those really like special pieces, like the woman who trusted you with her mastectomy scars.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, cannabis is the same way. If you're open to being vulnerable with the person you're, you know, trying to get help from, it's just going to make the process like so much easier and more deep.
Mm-hmm. I really believe that, you know, like memory and emotions and stuff are stored in the body in different areas too, in different muscles and in different places. I know there's a lot of studies that do say those are true, but like, you know, in energy work and energy healing, I've had that, you know, in my own meditations and stuff, like, you know, so much, you know, that's why chakras have been a big focus for me. Cause it's like when I'm focusing on, say, the areas of the body of like the solar plexus or like the root chakra or something, you know, those are the areas of the body that I'm focusing on. And those are the memories and those are the thoughts that are coming up and the relevant things, you know, to that area. And I could definitely see, especially, you know, first off, it definitely being vulnerable. Like, you to even access any of that, you have to be vulnerable and you really got to trust the person. Like, I'm not even going to enter a space, you know, where I don't trust, where if I don't trust someone to get into any chakra work or anything like that, you know, I'm pretty weird about spiritual healers. I do have to really trust you. But I do believe that, you know, say you're getting your legs worked on or something, or you're getting certain areas of the body worked on, there's going to be different things that are going to come up. You know, you might be like, you like stretching an area of the body and you're just like, all of these things come out and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know I was going to feel that from this.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like yoga does that big time because it makes you directly experience that muscle group completely. And then you realize, oh my God, I've been neglecting this muscle. But then like, whatever it is that's opening up all those little like thoughts and spiritual messages from, you know, not spiritual messages, but like bad negative emotions or something, or positive emotions that are coming from that. I definitely think that happens. That's all I'm saying.
Do you guys get that happening with tattoos? Do you ever get like pretty emotional clients, not because of like pain or nervousness, but out of like the release?
Oh, absolutely. For me, that's actually that's probably with certain, and this isn't like a positive or negative about the client. But for certain clients, that's one of the biggest challenges for me is like, I'm an incredibly empathic person. So if I have a client who's like going through mental turmoil, like sometimes I don't even need to like verbally say anything to me. I just feel it. And sometimes if somebody's like emotionally heavy, like those are the days that I need to take more smoke breaks. And those are like, there are some times where I like just have to excuse myself, and I literally will just go to the bathroom and like flush my face with water and just shake it off and like go back. Can't let whatever energy is bringing them down, I can't let it bring me down. So like sometimes I need to step away and like very consciously be like, nope, I got to concentrate on my energy. I got to concentrate on the task at hand. And I can't become sad or mad or upset, like because of the contagious quality of sharing like that close space and touching another person.
Get a feedback of negative emotions going.
Right. You even start grimacing, or, start like, having a frown and stuff, and the person's getting even more insecure and stuff in the moment.
Yeah. Not necessarily. Usually it's sad. Usually it's sadness if people are in, or if they're just going through like rough parts of their life. And,
the morning ones are really, really hard. I've experienced that as well, with some really intense times, people coming in pretty close to the incident.
Yeah, like a memorial tattoo.
Yeah, I've had a few bad ones where people came into like sacred expressions. There was a group of like, I remember this one. I'll always remember this one just because of just the immense awkwardness of it and how bad we felt, but like how also like, oh my God, like we took on so much energy. It was me and Steven in the shop, and like 8 people just walk in. It's a walk-in shop, so 8 people walk in, and they all like, I was more appointment only, so I was already kind of like on the, I didn't really want to necessarily take walk. It was like 7 o'clock at night. I was like, man, all these people walking in right now, this is gonna be we're gonna be at this all night, but we're gonna make some money, and all that. But we also didn't register right away what was going on, and then they started talking to us, and they were like, the day before, it was like this, like, all of their like brother, like a main sibling died, some circumstances, I don't even know what that was, but man, they were so up and awry. They were all bawling, they were all crying, and they were just like, it was really, really intense, and we felt really bad. But like, what happened was, so we were totally down to take them on. We were going to do it, and so we would draw up exactly what they wanted. I'd draw them up, and then they want to change it, and so we'd change it, and then they want to change it again, and they nitpick every detail, and then they'd get upset. They were getting really upset that it wasn't exactly what they wanted. Something about it was always wrong, and then they were like literally getting mad at this, and like, we're starting to get upset. We're trying to be as patient as we can, but they are just so up and awry. And like, we got to the point where we're like, we honestly feel as though that this is too close to your grieving time. I don't think that this is a good thing for you guys to be doing, to be here getting a tattoo. There's plenty of shops around here that would be more than happy to take on these tattoos, most likely, and you guys could probably all end up with a tattoo tonight. But I do think, because they were flip-flopping their ideas and stuff, like, it was just, we're like, they were in the air
to do anything.
And like, you might even think you're sane for a minute, but then you're not. You're in the grieving process. You are in the depths of it, and like, you got to wait till you step out of it and realize, like, so much of it just seemed wrong, and we were like, holy shit, we can't even start tattooing these people. Like, this is going to get even worse and worse. And so we told them that we got real with them, and we're like, we don't think that this is the proper time for you to be getting a tattoo right now, in all honesty. And we never got mad. We were super patient. But like, on the inside, I was so anxious, and I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, like sweating. I was like, man, this is so awkward and so hard.
Kind of a no-win situation, because it's not like this. Even you could kill the tattoo, it'd be great.
Right.
They're still going to be in a state of mourning and anger, grief, denial, whatever they're going through.
It's not going to help the situation.
Tattoo like isn't going to be the end all, change all, be all.
I think they thought that was going to like help them, like that was going to give them some semblance of help in that, and then. Like, I don't think it was really going to. I think, I don't know. I hope they got the tattoo they wanted, but that was very intense. And I probably would have been shaking through the entire tattoo. Like, it put so much weird energy on me that like, I felt, this wasn't even that long ago. This is like 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah. This is something I I definitely, anytime I'm around somebody who's had a recent death, like it's very common that people want to get memorial tattoos, things like that. And now, like, I deliberately, okay, hit me up, and I'll say like 2 or 3 months from now, even if, even if I could get them in sooner. I've just learned over the years to give emotions a chance to settle, because if the client is too charged, then I personally am going to be too charged, and I'm not going to be able to do 100% on my tattoo because my emotions are so, if I get too emotional, my work is compromised. Is that a fair way to?
Yeah.
So if my client is extremely
Absolutely.
and I'm moderately emotional, then my work is already compromised. So it's one of those, like, I know in those times of mourning, people want to get tattoos right away as part of the healing process. But I guess my advice is, instead of making it one of the first parts of your healing process, make it one of your final parts of your healing process, because now you have something.
That
Remember.
is a great way to say that. Yeah.
So I feel like that's the way to think about it. Like, spend those first few months thinking about getting a tattoo, wanting the tattoo, but as your emotions settle, the idea of the tattoo might change a little bit. You might go from wanting like, I just want to RIP such and such with wings around it and a halo. Totally cool idea, totally fine. I wouldn't discourage it. But if you were to wait on that idea for a little bit, you might come up with like an old family photo that you didn't even know existed. And now you get to use that and tell a whole nother story, where sometimes just
Right.
like let settle, meditate. Yeah. And like within that meditation, that's still work being done on the idea and on the project. So like I said a few minutes ago, I think if a memorial tattoo, or if you're going to get a memorial tattoo, as a tattooer, you should encourage your clients to wait a little bit. But as a collector, it should be one of the final phases of your healing process, not the first. It's just too much and too permanent. And you don't want to lock that moment of grief to your tattoo.
That is a great point. I think that right there is one of the great points
of great things. And you know what I mean? You want to have a good story connected to your tattoo. You don't want to get the tattoo to commemorate.
Not think about the worst day of your life. You want to think about the memory of that person, not like, I got this the day I was hurting the most I've ever hurt in my entire life. I think that will always kind of bring you back to that pain. I don't think you want to feel that pain. You want to feel the love you felt from that person, or whatever, connection.
Yeah. So if you ever get any kind of weird vibes from your artist about a memorial piece, that's probably all it is. They probably just want you to wait a little bit, or maybe you're just too emotional and it hasn't occurred to them to have you wait a little bit. But
definitely don't want to discourage from them at all either.
Yeah.
From memorial tattoos, because that's something, like, I don't know, I feel so thankful that, like, I've had a lot of good friends pass away in my life. And I'm so thankful that I've been able to tattoo most of those people's families, and most of like all of our best friends, and like all of our friends and stuff that we had at the time. And so, like, even like, I think the families was where it was, good friends that died, and then I'm tattooing their family members, and I'm getting to know like their family around that. And then, like, I don't know, I always felt that was really special. I really enjoyed any time that I had. And those clients that I have are now recurring clients. And most of them are in Michigan now. They don't come out to really Red Tree so much, but I always enjoyed every time that I was able to tattoo them.
Yep. It's a funny thing. It kind of goes back to, like, I say it all the time, but it's not a race. Like, you have the idea and you can 100% dead set what I'm going to get, but like, you don't have to get it right away. It's never a race. And when you want good quality work, and you want work about, take the time. And with memorial pieces, I think there are a lot of especially crucial and special reasons to take your time and be patient.
Absolutely. Sorry. Ooh, baby lung.
It's okay. I saw that log you were ripping on.
Weed is really good.
I just demolished a couple of brownies.
Are they kicking in yet?
Probably another 10 minutes, and the first one will probably start kicking in.
We ate a couple really good edibles last night. I only ate 20 milligrams, but man, that shit put me out. And then I even woke up like heavy as fuck. Not super groggy, but like woke up like, oh man, I'm tired as shit. But in the best way.
That's one of the
But
I
off
kind of
of
like.
20 milligrams, like usually 50 milligrams.
Gets you like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are really good edibles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually got a bunch of awesome stuff from this brand that just came into Michigan. They're all over out west, and we actually tried them in Vegas last time we were there. They're called Wild, and it's just a cool ass brand. Their gummies are very high quality. The thing that got me, they have huckleberry gummies. And the huckleberry gummies, I did not realize are not commercially grown. So every year, whatever huckleberry season is, they hire foragers off of like Craigslist and shit to go and forage all of their huckleberries.
What?
That's fantastic. That makes me want to even more.
Isn't that cool?
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then they have another flavor called like Marionberry or something, which I had never heard of.
Marionberry?
And it's like a specific to this like Marion County out in Oregon, and where they bred 2 types of blackberries, and apparently they're like the size of a plum, but they're delicious, and they're only like out there.
Can I get jam?
Right? That's
Right.
I'll ask, because that shit sounds good.
I'm a sucker for some blackberry jam. So you can make let's
Yeah.
Brody make
I
our
love some good jam.
pick up along the way.
We just got a bunch of jams.
We got fun jams.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. God, I love jams.
I have a mulberry tree in my Detroit house, and I have like 5 mulberry trees, and really want to make jam next year. I've been saying it for years, and I think I just got to get it done.
Yeah.
I love mulberries so much.
I grew up with so many mulberry trees around.
We have the white and the black ones.
Yeah.
White
Those are the black ones. Never had white ones. Never heard of the white ones.
They're weird.
If I remember right, I taste peachy.
They kind of do like the white peach like juice or something. You know what I mean?
They're like,
feel like
yeah,
They're
They're
very
not-
mild and like not super sweet, but not tart either. You know?
yeah, they're ones you can eat like a whole handful of and not go.
Exactly.
Nice.
Oh yeah, Sarah made them a few years ago. She gathered my other sister's got a mulberry tree in her backyard, and I went out with like frisbees and like sand buckets, gathered a whole bunch of mulberries, and she and my nieces made a mulberry pie together. I didn't really like literally pick berries and make a pie, so it was cute.
Aw, that's so cute.
That's awesome.
And city four.
I miss having lots of trees.
Nature's candy.
We used to have lots of pear trees, apple trees, mulberry trees,
Yeah.
tons of grapes.
Yeah.
And they just grew wild. It's all permaculture shit. You know, it's so cool when it's just everywhere and grows back every year.
It's pretty cool how many like fruits, at least in Michigan, grow it. I guess I truly don't know about Ohio, but all kinds of fruit grows in Michigan. It's
I
wonderful.
bet they grow.
It seems like the same,
I
right?
imagine it'd be way better out here
because
because
it's a little bit warmer.
yeah, the winters aren't as harsh.
Ohio, there are fewer orchards, like
Okay.
apple pear orchards, but they are around. There are just fewer of them. I think the
Probably
biggest
because some corn takes up so much land.
we
Do you
don't
think
have
that's why? Like, what do you think? What do you think makes a difference there?
so in
You don't like fruit here? You like corn?
Yeah. Michigan is a dune state. So once you get into Ohio, it's not as sandy. So when you've got crops like blueberries do really well in sand. So you see a lot of blueberry farms like along the lakes. But
Uh-huh.
I've never heard of a blueberry farm in Ohio.
That's what I was wondering, was actually about the blueberries and like cherries and stuff.
Interesting.
sandy soil that makes a difference. The
Oh,
sand is why certain crops do so incredibly well in Michigan and other things don't stand a chance. It's because the whole from all of the back to geology, from all of the glacial activity, giant sand, just one, and it's also still moving and floating and changing. Like if you live in Michigan, you know the lake shores and stuff are changing rapidly. So the whole state is still very active and changing, where Ohio's a lot more sedimentary and it's,
right.
you know,
Locked.
Yeah.
more large, less
I
sand.
see. Right. Yeah.
My friend has one of the most impeccable blueberry farms I've ever seen in my life up north. And these blueberries are just unreal. So big, so juicy. Jordan's.
Yep.
Mhm.
They're slanging blueberries like crazy out there.
slanging blueberries, huh?
By the quart.
A friend,
Yo, can I get a cue?
Bloobs, kill
had-
bloobs.
up
Let me see
north
those bloobies.
near like they basically like preserve and dry a lot of the different berries from all over the state. So like when you see like dried cherries, dried blueberries, you know, he's got the facility where they soak all the berries in the sugar brine and then dehydrate and distribute all over the place. So
Yum.
a
Heck
lot,
yeah.
lot of berry activity in Michigan.
It makes me miss Michigan. I really I hate being away from northern Michigan, so far away from northern Michigan, to be honest.
Yeah.
To be fair, George, it took me a few years to miss Michigan as well. Like I didn't realize how much I missed Michigan until I hadn't been back to Michigan in a few years, and I took a trip out to Colorado. And while I was in Colorado and like enjoying it so much, it was reminded me of being back home in Michigan. And that's when like I really got homesick for
Right.
scenery and the rolls. And
I like that I'm reappreciating it, because I mean, it makes me remember back when I was there, or how sick of it I also remember like how sick of it I got. So it's like when you're in the same place for a long time, you just kind of get sick of it. And it's been a couple years, and now, man, I'm I miss a lot of it. I think that's
Jordan, like 16-year-old Jordan is like, I'm sick of this lake.
I'm sick exactly. Right, exactly. Like, what the fuck was I thinking? I'm like, man, what I would do. Like, I would spend my life getting back to a lake. Like, I'm sick of this pontoon boat.
Backyard, but I got a lake.
Tiny ass patch of grass. God damn it.
I think the moral of the story is you got to travel no matter where you're at, no matter how great of a place you start at, you have to travel to broaden your horizons. I feel like
Yes,
that's how you make, I don't know, actual decisions, because you have opinions
You
now.
gain
You've
some
traveled, you
perspective.
know. I used to think like, oh my God, I can't wait. I'm going to grow up and I'm going to move to California. Now I'm like, oh my God, you could not pay me to live in California. Couldn't pay me enough. Hell no.
yeah.
I'll visit.
I'll visit for sure.
Right.
Beautiful. Beautiful. But like own a home there?
Yeah,
Oh,
Hello,
God.
wildfires? No.
There's the 100 million reasons.
I've been to cities that are beautiful to visit, but they're not my speed. And like I've been in cities that I love, and I've been in small cities that I love, but there's something that sometimes you can't even really put your finger on, where like this city's got a good vibe. I like this city, or like nah. Just
Yeah.
Personally, I
Definitely.
love San Diego, but I mean, affordable house is not, it's not affordable. Everything's super expensive. It's not as bad as like, say, like Northern Cali would be, I hear, but it's like, if
Speaking
you
of
want a
Northern
house,
Cali.
if you want a house in a nice place, then it's going to be super expensive. Otherwise there's just a lot of bad areas too. It's still Southern Cali,
what if I just
so
parking
close to Mexico.
my van in California? How much is it for a public parking spot? And if I buy a public parking space, can I set up a picnic table?
I think in Venice you probably could, right? They do a lot of car sleeping there.
What if I buy 2 spaces and I have a van and a little tug along behind?
I
Then
think
I get- If I'm buying 2 spaces, I might as well just get a houseboat.
that's
Buy a surfboard, live off the beach fun.
beach fun. New Orleans is that city for me. I would like to at some point in my life, even if it's for 3 months, go live in New Orleans. I love it there. I think it's so cool. I just hope they recreationalize weed, so I have a reason to go there. And oh boy, that city just has soul, and everyone's so nice. And
Yeah.
so like,
And yet it's Savannah. I haven't been to Savannah, Georgia. I've been all over the South, but I haven't been to Savannah, Georgia. And I feel like there's a reason I haven't been there yet, because I might not want to leave.
fair. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, anybody that knows me is like, Fawn, you got to make it to Savannah. You got to spend.
I know Savannah's got a crazy art scene I hear too.
Well, and all the
It's like a really big art school there.
all this, yeah, SCAD. What is it? The Southern something Institute. I don't know. It's called SCAD though. That's a big institute in
SCAD.
Georgia.
Do I smell a trip to Savannah?
I haven't spent much time in any of the southern states like that, Maine, South, I haven't, but definitely every other area. You know, I think farthest I ever get south is like Tennessee or something like
Let
that.
me ask you this. So you obviously there are different vibes and stuff in different cities. Have you guys ever paid any attention to how the art changes from one city to the next, or how like
How
do
what?
you
What'd you say?
changes? Have you ever attention to how the body art changes from one place to the next?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like when I went out to Arizona, it's all traditional. Everything's like desert traditional, and it's actually kind of cool. It's like it almost has its own vibe there, and you can see all the artists, you know, in the area are thriving off the traditional stuff. It's all like centipedes and scorpions and shit. You see so much of that. I'm sure there's a lot of other art, but that was what I was seeing a lot of when I was in Arizona. And you know, I don't know so much about California, but like desert, you know, area seems to be traditional.
Lizards.
Right? She got lizard too. Desert trash.
Always Sunny reference.
Right. Always sunny.
What about you, Fawn? What do you think you notice the most?
one of the things that I kind of sticks out like a sore thumb is that like when you travel anywhere outside of like our immediate area in Ohio, you see much less bio work.
Really?
Like,
I was wondering where bio was a thing.
yeah, like if in Georgia, I went one of the times I was getting worked on by Russ, and I had like my guest spot, so I was down there for the week. There was an art show across town, and we all went together, and it was crazy to see. Like it was all like different fine art from tattooers from all over the Atlanta area. And like when we go to an art show in Columbus where all the tattooers have gotten together and contributed their work, like 25 to 30% is going to be bio work, just because like there's that many of us that like to play in that style of painting, even if we're not tattooing it. A lot of us wear it even if we're not tattooing it. But in Georgia, there were like probably not quite 100, but a lot of pieces in this art show, and not one of them was even remotely in the bio realm. Also, there wasn't a lot of like geometric or like sacred geometry, or like that wasn't really a thing. So there was a lot of like traditional imagery, a lot of very fine line, delicate kind of floral paintings. Beautiful work, beautiful. Like I'd put it up to like any other work anywhere else in the country, like beautiful, beautiful work. But it was just crazy to see that like there was very little abstract, period. You know, everybody was so, it was all very refined, it was all
Gotcha.
very good. There wasn't like everything. It's like for the artists in live in, a lot of us live in the abstract realm, and a lot of us work out of the abstract realm. But when I was in Georgia, I realized that there's not a lot of that down there. And I mean, Kill is down in Georgia, but like he's kind of one of those.
You get your exceptions.
Yeah, he's one of those people that's always craving more bio and more abstract work and more. But like as a movement overall, it's very.
Yeah, I feel like abstract kind of, I don't want to say it takes a certain kind of mindset, but I can also see how, different groups of people, different areas, different ways of thinking is going to, some people are going to be more into abstract and more defined things, some people want more concrete, like this is what it is,
Yep.
And I think some people float to, they're more imaginative, not necessarily more imaginative, but more, can be more free flowing with things and can be, more attracted to the abstract. I feel like you're definitely going to get that in certain places than others.
I feel like in the tattoo scene in general, there's just so many things that are going on. And, I guess I'm kind of craving to jump in to more scenes and kind of learn more,
Yeah. Have you seen do you notice any difference in like from places you've traveled?
I think when a big time when I saw a ton of shit or like ton of pieces, just like was when I was in Southern Cali for 3 weeks and was in like Palm Springs, and it was for Coachella. So it was a lot of like ornamental stuff is what I was seeing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of like dainty, and these were mostly on female. So I guess I'm like that perception is skewed, but it wasn't like bold, thick, dark stuff. You know what I mean? It was dainty, delicate, ornamental. I know, line worky.
I could see that.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense.
I feel like this is kind of going a little bit different of a direction, but I kind of feel like face tattoos. I feel this is just an observation of where I've been. This might not even be remotely close to other people's experiences, but I feel like a lot of times some of the smaller communities that are a little bit less I feel like those are the communities where like you walk through them and you'll see like just face tattoos galore. Like you'll see people not even very tattooed, but they'll have their face covered, their neck covered, their hand, like their arms are totally bare. And it's all like rubbish.
I feel like Detroit's like that.
Yeah.
If you start
it's kind of for show, but it's like the cheapest way to get the look that you want.
I mean, it is kind of a trendy look right now, if I can play devil's advocate.
Yeah, well, I mean,
look at the little peep drawings, you know what I mean? Like that style. So many rappers like that are famous. So many like actors, like where everyone's seeing the whole world, like Pete Davidson's the new hottest man. And it's like, he's just like a very average person. So I think that on a hand's very cool because hopefully other average people can gain some confidence from that.
Pete Davidson is in the middle of having all of his tattoos lasered off, though.
That's really funny.
Yeah, that's the thing about Pete Davidson.
Yeah.
I remember that when he started doing all of that because he was completely covered. Now he's got like none.
Yep.
But also I think because it's I'm all for face tattoos. If you decide that's what you want, cool, and you're gonna show that off for the rest of your life, fuck yeah, you've concreted that. But also, like, you know, you worry about the trendiness of it a little bit, but I don't worry about what other people want, you know. I worry about doing a bad tattoo. I don't want to do a bad tattoo, so I'll do a good face tattoo.
I need one word to take up this whole space above. And then balance sake, can we do something here? Like anything you want, bro. Just
put it out there.
How about loyalty? Can I get loyalty above my
loyalty?
Loyalty.
I'm thinking of my time in New Orleans.
Good posture across my chest.
Good posture. I'm thinking about my time in New Orleans and like the people. It's such a melting pot and so touristy, so it's hard to say who's actually from there. But the people I know from there who are also not from there, I feel like I never saw very many tattoos. Like thinking back, but I'm also wondering because so many of those people are performers, whether it's acting, plays, singing, all of those things, which like a lot of those roles do prefer clean cut so that you're not cast into the same role all the time. You know what I mean?
Why you don't see actors and stuff, you know, super tattooed all the time. When you do, they're pretty much put into those roles. Yeah.
And I swear, every person I talked to in New Orleans, whether it was the bartender, they're like, yeah, I do this while, you know, and I act on the street at this theater. Normally we're playing this show this weekend and everyone's doing something like artistic. But I don't know what the tattoo scene's there like at all. Isn't Villain Arts there this weekend?
I have not been keeping up with where they've been this year too much, but yeah, there is one in New Orleans. Yeah, that's probably one we'll do next year.
I remember seeing it was coming.
Yeah, nice. I haven't seen that.
In Florida. Now, granted, we were in a rural place, and I know there are great tattooers in Florida, but where I was, I was a standout wearing shorts with colored work. It was one of those, like, people were staring at me, not because I had tattoos, but because it was like I was the only one in the crowd with, like, nice, colorful work. That was a little different. Like I had never been, like, I don't know, maybe it's one of those things we just take for granted by being surrounded by like our coworkers and each other. And like, we see good stuff day in and day out. So like when we travel to a small town where there might not be like a standout, stellar, like knock 'em dead kind of artist, a lot of people haven't seen good work in real life. And it's really, oh, wow. You
That's
ain't.
where that's like the collector's I feel like that's like the collector's mission is like that's like my mission. I feel like it's so awesome. Like we walk around with such awesome art. If we go to towns like that, we show people that have never seen tattoos like that. It's like that you've just expanded their idea of what they thought a
Mhm.
tattoo can be. And now even the artists if artists in the area aren't doing art like that, you know, you and don't think about it like that. You're, you know, pushing their boundaries of what they're thinking about a tattoo can be just by having a cool piece of art. You don't have to be an artist, you know? So I feel like even that is you're like, oh, you're a walking piece of art, you know, you're changing the way people are thinking about things and even helping their tattoo journey along. Because now all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, I thought I wanted this, but I didn't even know. I didn't even know it could be like that.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I like doing is like when you show somebody, I mean, my tattoos, for instance, most of them are so abstract. Like, yes, you could make out what they are, but like you kind of got to fill in the blanks with, you know what I mean? Like, especially with bio work or geometric work. But like when you see it, it's so bright and it's so big and it's so striking. Like, I love when people are like, I've never seen tattoo work that looks like a painting before. And then it's like, oh yeah, well, I traveled here. This is how I got it. And then when people are like, you can travel to get tattooed. It's like, well, yeah, you've only got one body. Don't you want to go to the
Right.
best? Like, you would
Right.
travel.
I love when people have that reaction like that, where it's like, yeah, I travel to get my tattoos, and they're like, you travel? How far? I'm like, well, it's like 7 hours or so, and they're like, wow, I didn't even really think about going out of town to go get a tattoo, and it's like, oh yeah, well,
Yeah, that's what we do.
look up, right, if you got the right resources and you can, you know, got Instagram, I mean, you can go anywhere you want to get a tattoo, you know, find out where the coolest people, where the best tattoos are.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, I gotta dip out. Thanks for blunting with me, and yeah,
Thanks for
have
joining
fun.
us.
Thanks for joining us, Em.
Of course.
Did you a couple minutes ago that Lauren would be joining us soon?
What?
You get the message a few minutes ago that Lauren is joining us soon?
I did not. I did not, but sweet, that's awesome.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Very cool.
I just want to show you what I keep looking at over here, just because my eye keeps wandering.
I didn't even notice.
This is signed Evil Knievel photo.
What? Evil Knievel? What? You have an Evil Knievel photo, or that's his?
This is Scott's. I'm sitting at Scott Schauber that I mentioned earlier. I'm sitting at his desk. He's the biggest Evil Knievel fan.
No shit. That's funny.
Good.
That's awesome.
That's what I get every time my eyes wander off screen. That's what I'm looking at.
Oh, Evil Knievel.
Yeah, if I know the stereo and stuff's on downstairs, or I'd take a walk through. There's a couple cool pieces that Clayton and I have worked on. One, it's like this bright, colorful, like it's a part of a carousel, but it's a mirror with like the carnival lights around it, and it's all hand carved and scroll work. I painted it a few years ago just to hang downstairs. Maybe I'll go grab a picture after we're off air and share it next week. And then there's a couple of other really rad classic projects that Clayton's been a part of. He's painted a lot of custom instruments, and they're all hanging out throughout the whole building.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Until today, this just happens to be up the road from my massage therapist's office. They're like a block apart from each other. But we should actually like plan Thursday to come up here, and we can hang out and have lunch and stuff afterwards, but come up and actually like take advantage of the studio and play around with some of the art. There's a lot of accidental art hidden in this building that not everybody would appreciate, but I think we definitely would. And I think the people that pay attention to our show would definitely appreciate.
Nice.
And then Clayton, who I had pop in here, he's also got a lot of tattoo work as well. And his wife is also covered in tattoo work. So they're actually really fun. I travel with them all the time. So they're really fun collectors to travel with when we're like standing and like, you can see all of our tattoos wherever we are, whether we're in Vegas or LA or wherever. But it's nice talking to Clayton because Clayton doesn't always like blow my cover as being a tattooer. So we can just talk as we're collectors. And then at the same time, like when we go to like paint trade shows and things like that, I don't blow his cover for being a really good painter. So we have that mutual, like, we're kind of like, it's almost like a backwards wingman for each other. You know what I mean? Like we play with the attention as a team, but we also like deflect unwanted attention like ninjas.
Okay. I see.
No talking about work.
Very nice. You gotta have a friend like that. Gotta have a friend like that. Fawn, you excited to get back to work?
Well, I worked yesterday on Justine. She's a awesome collector, and I've worked on her a lot, but I think we are close to completion on the upper part of her chest, and now we're ready to drop down into the like below the breast area.
Very cool.
Great session yesterday though. After pretty much being off for a week, I just kind of took it easy, but she's one of my favorite clients to like visit with and catch up with. And she and I have both known each other since we were both working retail before I even tattooed. So we've kind of like our entire adult life, we've gotten to see each other grow up. So it's kind of cool. I don't have a lot like where like they knew me before I tattooed unless they're family.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of cool. And those are some of the clients where it's kind of fun to like catch up and like, when I don't want to say get stuck playing counselor, but when you play counselor, it's nice when it's somebody that you've got all that history with and like, you can share your problems with one another and it's not just like a blank sounding board, which is fine and it's safe. But like, her mom worked at the retail store for me. So like, I know her, a lot of her family as well. So there's just this like openness where we can just chit chat, like we're catching up. So it makes it like, yes, I'm working, but like, it's kind of like half a day off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have clients like that where like, yeah, it's a work day, but like, it doesn't really feel like work when I'm working on you.
I feel like that. Yeah. I feel like there's a few clients, I have pretty good conversations with. It's usually the ones who I know are just as interested as I am or somewhat near or kind of interested in aliens. Because man, do I want to earbeat someone. And if you're getting tattooed by me and you like aliens, man, do we got some things to talk about.
All the aliens.
No, I mean, definitely. I got the client who gave me like 3,000 images of or 3,000 UFO videos on a little hard drive. Like every time he comes through, we just talk about aliens the whole time. I feel like that's definitely, there's a few clients out there. But it just makes the day a little easier. You go by things a little bit faster if you got conversation the entire time. But there's definitely, I don't know, man, lately I've just been like, I just shut right up and I just get to work. I've hardly been taking like any smoke breaks or any breaks. I'll like go and like rip a dab quick or like I have a blunt rolled, hit it a couple times. And then like, I'll take 5-10 minute breaks every, 5-minute break every hour or two. And then just been doing that, but no big breaks and stuff and just been pounding through, getting so much done. I forgot where I was going with that. I had a greater point and I lost it, but
a little change in the routine.
But that's
feel if your work is coming together more quickly and your clients are more comfortable.
Yeah, I've just been getting so much done. Like, I don't know if it's the Cheyenne pen or what. Like, this Cheyenne pen's just killing it versus everything I've ever used before. So everything's getting so much smoother, so much quicker. And so I just feel like I'm getting through things so much quicker than I thought. And it's so cool to see things get more progress. And so I just always want to just keep working and keep working. And it's been feeling good.
Good. It's funny when things just like click into place and you feel your progress get more efficient. Not necessarily faster for the sake of being faster, but efficient for the sake of just utilizing time, getting more that time.
I feel like, I guess my main point with that too was I totally feel what you're saying, definitely. But like, I feel like I've just been like shutting up the entire time, not like, even some of the clients, we would have maybe first session, but cool, talk about a lot of stuff. It's like second, third session. It's just like, we are at work. I'll shut right up the entire time. Not that I don't want to talk. I just like, I get so in the zone lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're in,
I've been digging it.
I feel like here lately, because I've had so much on my mind when I am working, when I am with a client, I feel like when I'm in work mode, my brain is so focused. I haven't been real chit chatty as well. But when we take our stretches and our smoke breaks, I feel like I'm like, and then when we go back up to my room, it's like crickets.
Right. I would say kind of about the same if we go and take a smoke break or anything like that. But yeah, I haven't really even been taking smoke breaks with anybody. But getting a lot done. I've been feeling great with some progress lately. Getting so many pieces finished and lots of progress.
Good. It feels good. Like, not that there's ever like any pressure to check things off the list quickly or anything like that, but like it
Feels
always
good when you do, though.
Yeah, it's fulfilling and it's exciting, and it's like, okay, so I had this vision this long ago, and I've finally brought it this far to fruition. And when it's actually complete, there's just that feeling of accomplishment. It's like, it's not the same as like winning an award or winning a race or like winning anything like that. It's not like that kind of feeling.
Right.
But
Especially too, because it's a tattoo. It's almost like a sand mandala, you know what I mean? Where like, the Buddhist people that are monks and stuff, they spend so long building it and doing all that, and then they just blow it away, in the end. And because really that's what happens. We got some pictures, and cool, like our pictures exist in a few different places, but that's what proof we have of it. Chance, we're not going to be with you every day. We can't put you up on a wall or anything. Like you're out in the world now with it, but lots of people are still seeing it. They're still seeing it, but still you feel like it almost doesn't exist anymore, because you'll see it in a couple of years, or maybe, if you know them, maybe you'll see it more. But if it's just a client that you don't ever really, your worlds aren't going to meet for whatever reasons.
Here's the thing that really makes it like a mandala is when you see that client 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years later, and they have or haven't taken care of their tattoo, or, whatever the circumstances, they got a dog scratch through it. Now they've got a scar, they've sun bleached all the oranges right out of it, whatever the situation, you've got to let it go, because it's not yours. You made this for them. And once it's finished, you've got to let go of all attachment, because now it's theirs. It's part of that person. It's part of their body. You don't have any ownership of it, and you never did. Mm-hmm. Where like paintings, maybe that's the difference for me. Maybe that's why it's so hard for me to like let go and sell my paintings, is because with such a huge percentage of the work I do isn't mine. It never was mine. Like
I 100% identify with that. That is, I swear, why I like part of why I paint.
Yeah, it was never mine to begin with. But my paintings they're the only art that I make that's selfish and for me and for my visions and my experimentation. And you know what I mean? And
right. It's not meant for anybody else. Maybe someone buys it one day, but like, that's part of why, I don't even want to sell my paintings. It's like, I don't make them for other people. I want it. Like, I do it because I love to paint, and I love that. And I love that I have my own thing that's not going to necessarily disappear. It's not just going to go away. It is that like selfish like thing.
Yep. And it's such a small percentage of the work that I do that gets to be that selfish, experimental, exploratory, fun, just for the sake of being fun. It's such a small percentage. Like all of the creative energy that I put out all the time, it's all for somebody else. It never belonged to me to begin with. It's a funny thing, but when I sit down with the paintbrush and I sit down with my cup of coffee and I'm playing with the thing in front of me that I bought, that is for me and that I hold in my hands from the whole process. And then once I finish it, it's still mine. I don't have to say goodbye to it. Like, and then I can like introduce new people to this thing that I've made. And then it sprouts new ideas. I don't have that with tattoos. Like occasionally I'll have enough homies around me where I can be like, hey, come here, come show so-and-so this thing that I did. I want to do something like this on you. You come wait.
Right.
It's rare. It's really, really rare that you happen to have the right friend around with the right tattoo that you can show off to explain this idea. Mm-hmm. That's a really funny thing that like, I think just now I've just made that distinction, is that my paintings are selfish. They're for me. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just like,
no, absolutely
oriented. They're about me and my imagination and clearing things in my head or exploring, where literally 95% of the other artwork I make was never mine to begin with.
Right. Those are your personal exploration. Those are your, personal,
like
it's such a personal thing.
from like the
But tattoos, you know, like you said, they're not ours. You know, they were never ours to begin with. You know, they might be a vision that we created for somebody, but there's still the thought of it always being for this person. The entire time I'm drawing something, I'm thinking about how this is for you and for, you know, for your body, how it's fit to your body. And like, that's the special thing about it, is like how much I try to make it for that person. And like with painting, I love that I can make that disappear completely. It's a whole nother world of things.
Well, and here's the other thing with the tattoo, we're not actually making something. It's not a thing that somebody holds. It's not a possession that somebody carries that we're making for them. We're actually altering another person. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that you hear it all the time. People refer to one another as canvases, which I don't like, but I've got a whole spiel of reasons. Like we're more valuable than a canvas. We're not inanimate, you know, but when we make a tattoo for somebody, we're not making a thing. We're altering a human being that exists, that lives, that has a life. It's not like we made this delicate thing to sit on a shelf or hang on the wall, or we altered a person. We didn't give them a tangible thing. We changed them. We changed a human being, you know, and we talk all the time about like the spiritual journey and stuff that's attached to that, but it's just, that's the distinction, is like our paintings are selfish and they're for us, where our tattoos were never something we could ever even hold in our hand or share with another person. You know, it's like
Mhm.
the spiritual NFT. You know,
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's great perspective on it. I think you're 100% correct. It's such a special thing for that. But it is, you know, it's in essence, it's a spiritual thing. You know, it's beyond a necessarily piece of art. You know, it's on you forever. It's going to change you forever. And especially what it takes to go through to get it, you know, that's altering, you know, going through pain like that really, not to scare anyone away with the pain talk, but you know, especially going through like a whole sleeve, a whole body piece, you know, whole back piece. Yeah, you're gonna go through it a lot. There's a lot that it takes to get through that. That's super altering, but then you have this on you forever. Your body totally is augmented.
it's a funny,
It's wild.
funny to think of it like that now that like NFTs are on the rise and people are starting to understand that this is like a special kind of art that can't be transferred or copied, or, but like as tattooers, we've been working like that forever. You know
Right.
what? Like we didn't need computers to make us appreciate the mandala and the specialness and sacredness of our work. Like we've been doing that. We've been giving people one-off pieces of art that they couldn't trade and nobody else could buy. Like, we've been doing that. That's, yeah. Oh, and you can't leave it to anybody. You can't will it. You can't, like, this piece of art dies with you as well. Like that's a pretty special
Right.
thing.
I think that's another reason why I paint as well, is just to have something that's gonna, you know, I'm not super worried about having some like legacy or having some like, oh, I need to live on and everyone needs to see me for the rest of the time. Like, I really don't care that much about that. But also, it'd be kind of nice to have the paintings outlive me. And like, I would like to work for that if I have anything, you know, it's like, cool, let's have paintings that will last, you know, hopefully in 1,000 years, they find it and they're like, oh my God, this is what people were thinking about at the time. This shit's crazy.
So I've been sipping on this stuff. It is Kill Clip CBD 25 milligrams, limited edition. The go.
Nice. Fawn, can I ask you something about
It's purple
paint real
drink.
quick?
Yeah.
So acrylic paint, you know, it was invented like 50 years ago, right? So it hasn't been around too long. So everything we've ever done with that, we really don't know how it's going to hold up. You know, oil paint, you know, we got proof of that for like 500 plus years, right?
Mhm.
What do you think about acrylic paint? Do you think it would break down quicker, or do you think it has the potential of lasting just as long, if not longer?
I work with oils because Da Vinci and Michelangelo worked with oils. I work
Hey,
with
same.
because Caravaggio worked with oils. I worked with oils because I've seen 600 and 700 and 800-year-old paintings that are beautiful and have been restored and protected because they were made with oils.
Absolutely. And that, oh God, am I an advocate for that? Because that is 100% where I sit on the line with that, but also only having 50 years of even understanding acrylics, you know, do you think that like they could last longer? Like, when oils were invented in those first couple hundred years, you had those people around doing some crazy shit. Now you have acrylics that have just been invented and people are doing some pretty wild stuff with it. But do you
This is
What's up,
think,
you guys? I'm joining in.
Hey, lady. Jordan just asked me a complicated paint question
I
where I
heard
think
you, actually.
we
I
could
was
we
just
could
sitting
get
on,
we could get back
yeah,
to
with
paint.
acrylics, I would say I'd feel less confident with acrylics, essentially because like they would tend to break down depending on the surface.
right? You think the plastics would break down quicker?
Well,
Yeah,
here's
definitely on the long-term scale. But like, I don't know. I don't know that for sure. That would be my guess.
Right? I just want opinions. I'm just curious because I just
Yeah, and then you have a
I
lot
knew
more
acrylics.
flexibility with oils too, because you know that that's a standard for several different surface types.
Right.
Whereas acrylics, I'm sure, like on softer types of stuff, or I guess vice versa, it would probably be more likely to break down. If you're talking about a large scale, 700 years, definitely like you say, like oils.
Yeah, that's what I would assume. I would
old house.
definitely assume that. And God, do I love oils? I love the smell of it. Oh, love it
Have you
all.
ever walked into an old house, Jordan, and you can look at how paint is chipping off of the walls?
Yes.
So oil paints, if you're talking old house paint, you're going to get twice as long out of a can of oil paint before it starts cracking and chipping and flaking, because it naturally has these flexible properties to it. Where with acrylic, as acrylic ages, that expansion and contraction as temperature changes and humidity changes, as acrylic ages, it becomes more brittle more quickly.
And
So
sunlight, I'm sure, affects it big time. You've ever seen plastics in general, after they've been exposed to the sunlight crazy for a long time, they just get thinner and shittier.
yeah, anytime you're going for longevity, you want to go with something that's solvent based, just because the test of time has been there. However, I still work with acrylics, and I think it's important to know how to work with acrylics, just because, like, for instance, that piece that you and I worked on, well, those two pieces that you and I worked on together, they came out beautiful. They were all acrylic, but that was, something experimental that was on the fly. It had its application. Do I think either of those pieces are going to last a few hundred years? Absolutely. Do I think they would last longer if we would have used oils? Yeah, but I clear them in polyurethane. So they've got a layer of poly that's fully dried and cured underneath, which is really important. Then, because that's a solvent based media, I had to sand it so that when we applied the oil, we have a mechanical bond so that acrylic could actually like grip to the tooth of where I sand. So there's an oil to seal the back, a mechanical bond for the acrylic to grab, and then I let it, I like to let things cure and totally dry before I clear them. So now I have encapsulated that with another layer of polyurethane, which is oil based. So there is acrylic in between two oil-based layers, but we worked thin. So that acrylic is on there thin so that polyurethane can still bond to itself around that acrylic. So it's one of those things where like, there's never 100% yes or no, don't use acrylic or don't use oil or do. It's just one of those, like, what's the application? How long do you want it to last? What is it going to be in direct sunlight? Is there a chance it's going to be outdoors? Is it going to be in an area where there's going to be a lot of draft? Is it going to be in an area where it's well protected? Like, all of those things are variables. But then you've got this. It's harder to move oil paintings around. So if you're working in a mobile situation, acrylic might be the way to go, just so you can get your piece done successfully.
Right. Layer after layer.
Yeah, there's
Quickly.
that. But then at the same time, under the right conditions, and if the right person is owning that acrylic painting and preserving it correctly and cleaning it correctly, it could last just as long as an oil painting. There's just so many variables, and it's a matter of using the right chemistries and the right orders and not mixing incompatible. Because if you mix incompatible without, like I said, sanding or making a mechanical connection, that's where you've got paint chipping and peeling and flaking off over time.
Yeah.
A loaded question. We could super dive into it more, but
Right. Right. Yeah. No, that was a great explanation of all that. Yeah. Just curious on your opinions too on acrylic paint. I know we've talked about it a lot and stuff, but like also just the thought of, only being around, I've always, everything you've said, I've been at the, that's at the assumption of, but just very curious as to how you guys think it was just going to break down over time. Like, what's the reality of it? Like, is there potential of maybe it's going to be strong, or like, what are the realities of how acrylic's going to break down? And that was a pretty good explanation.
I think that you guys you're like uber exposed to acrylic paints more than you know. Well, I know that you know, Jordan, but like the majority of inks out there are acrylic based. So you can kind of see that small scale of how it behaves on a larger scale or a longer timeline when it flakes. Like if it flakes in your caps, flakes in your, it dries out quicker than different base paints. So
Gotcha.
um,
Um,
easy to relate by looking at it that way.
do you want to segue and jump on to the tattoo ink topic that we were talking about?
Hmm. I'm ready.
Yeah, there's just so much to talk about, and I know that I'm not sure how many viewers you guys have over in Europe, but it's kind of like an international issue, and everyone's starting to like see there's a January 4th deadline happening in Europe, and there aren't necessarily like clear messages from all of the manufacturers. Some people, what it is that the manufacturers are testing different pigments. So there may be like, well, there's thousands of pigments in the world. We have to
Mhm.
know which ones are safe to use. So first you'd have to have the powder tested. So basically what you would do is if you're registered, an ink manufacturer would have to be registered in Germany to the CTL laboratory before 2018 to have their pigments even looked at. So if you're on their database or whatever, you can do this process. So you submit the powders now, which is kind of a different analysis. They used to not, dispersions used to be okay to submit, and now all the manufacturers are trying different reds, trying different blues, trying different greens, violets, and seeing what passes their standards.
Mhm.
But then at the same time, they're testing them. You have to test them on skin somehow to see how they work. Some have different light fastness. It's just not everyone is communicating together. There's going to be several brands that everybody uses that are trying for their certification. And it's not only the actual powders that are being analyzed differently, it's the labeling, because
Mhm.
now tattoo inks are being classified differently, which is a whole new classification process. And it's not all about safety necessarily. It's about like the right information.
Mhm.
Like you have to have a certain
Mhm.
amount of languages on your bottle. Your bottle has to say this. It's extremely precise. So, I mean,
Wow.
the real race, I think, would have been for that blue, finding an alternate for that blue, because a lot of the other colors you can kind of, there
Mhm.
are alternatives. They're different, but there are alternatives.
The blue's the crucial one because there's if we've got good, solid, stable blue pigments, like good royal blue pigments, then that gives us a whole slew of options to make greens, to make purples, to make browns, grays. A lot of the greens we can make black. There are tricks to make greens without actual green pigment. But the blue is really the thing. Like if we don't have a good, solid, stable blue pigment, there goes
That's the thing.
Right.
my
But I
season.
mean, rest assured, this is not taken lightly by the manufacturers. Like for real, we're a tiny company. We are really investing like all we've got into it because we don't want to we talk to so many artists in Europe, so many clients that are like this is a part of my entire career, my entire life are these pigments and these colors. And just because of this loophole, one could say, kind of depends on how you look at it. I feel like the pigments are completely fine. But imagine like as of January 4th going to work and thinking like, okay, this gets thrown out, this gets thrown out. I mean, you really do need a basic palette to create your own, you know, you can create your own colors very easily. You can mix and match and stuff like that. But there are some colors that, you could leave to the professionals literally that are really hard to attain with a limited palette.
Mhm.
Do you think that
But
they
yeah,
will, do you think that they will specifically ban the colors themselves, or do you think that they will ban these specific chemicals or specific, like, minerals or whatever the pigment is? Do you think they'll just ban those, and so then now, like, you just have to adapt to that and find a different one for those colors? So it'll never be like you can't use green, but it's basically like all these greens usually use this thing, so once something else an alternative can be found to that green or something, that'll be okay.
That's going to happen. That's going to happen to some extent. So what you're going to see is like set in stone legislation and that stuff. Like once it's written, it's pretty much written. But what I think that we will see is a combination of them attempting to kind of reconcile and see, and maybe hearing out some of the arguments that are being made by legal professionals, thousands of people. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, maybe they will take another look at the parts per million, or how much is actually absorbed into the skin.
Mhm.
Sean Brown had mentioned something to me where they're working with specific chemists who are finding out that the rates are so much lower than what is like being presented to them in some of those facts. So I think that if there's solid evidence by neutral scientists, chemists, all sorts of different types of professionals like that, and it's presented maybe over time, some of that could be stalled.
Let's
But
rewind.
I mean, these
One of the things that one of the things that is, I think, easy to misunderstand is that, how do I say this? I need a little bit more time to gather my thoughts. I was going to make a point, but I don't want to just ramble and not loop back to my point. But it's one of those, like, so what, I guess one of the things that frustrated me about this from the beginning is that in the United States, usually when somebody makes a complaint to the FDA, then like there has to be an issue. Somebody has to get sick, there has to be an injury, and then the FDA gets involved and decides whether things are safe or not safe. And I feel like the frustrating thing that's gone on with this movement in Europe is that somebody just up and decided, like, hey, these two pigments could be dangerous without any like warranted evidence. So now we've been like, well, I've been tattooed, and none of us have any injuries. What are you talking about? And now, like, so now that testing is being done, they're finding that the claims are even more bogus and preposterous. Like,
here's one thing I have to say about that. Like, I'm trying to think of an analogy.
sorry, that's it was
But
hard.
think about like if you're in line, you've got two lines or whatever. And one line is you're going to be classified this way, and one line you're going to be classified that way. Each line has their own rules, but you play by those rules because that's the line you're in. So, so once the pigments were classified differently, you have to play by that line's rules. So it's not necessarily like, well, it's not like the big argument, are they safe? Are they safe? The really big argument is, can they comply by the rules of the line that they're in? And that's where we're finding like it's like black and white. It's not like gray. And unfortunately, this is a gray area topic.
Mhm.
It's I guess you could say it is a risk to get tattooed, because you can develop, let's just face it, you do develop allergies over time. That's a fact,
Mhm.
but that's a risk that so many people take, and there's just the complications are so minimal. That's
Yeah.
my opinion on it. I mean, I do definitely advocate for tattoo safety in all regards.
Yeah,
But then again,
I'm on your side. I'm on your side of it for sure. I do believe that tattoo pigments are safe, and we've been using these, so much for so many years now, and haven't seen too many adverse effects. I think that there's cool studies to be, or studies to be done about like why certain pigments act a certain way in certain skins and allergies and stuff like that. There's a lot more research to be done as to what is actually happening under the skin when you have lines that are getting all of a sudden itchy one day randomly and stuff. I know there's, of course, scar tissue is going to be that way. There's different reasons for that, but also sometimes, you know, it's different pigments that are more itchy than other pigments. And so like what those exactly are and what those effects are, but I don't think that it's worth banning it without understanding any of that, and just to all of a sudden do that when it changes the lives of so many people. I don't think that's worth it. That outweighs, you know, there's never been any risk before, you know, it's, you don't have to change it yet. We can be more cautious and we can start researching it more, but to ban it first would be ridiculous.
The thing is too, is like, I know that you could be much more deliberate about the colors that you use to create of a more expanded palette based on sensitivities. But like, how are you really supposed to know how client's skin is going to be? Like that
No,
seems like a little bit. If
no,
can
you're
encourage
not.
but
Yeah, you're really not, because there's so much testing that each person's going to be so different. But in general, what are those differences in different people? Not something that we're going to be able to necessarily figure out, but the science to like what the pigments are and how, you know, how each one affects a human being differently and stuff. I think that's kind of above my head how that would
there's a lot of
happen.
reports that if you look around and you want to do your own research, because due diligence, of course, is the best option for something like this. Look up like the pigments in the MSDS sheets, or the SDS sheets, I mean, on every single pigment that you use, and be like, okay, so I'm aware at least that this red or this yellow I've had at least some inconsistencies with, you know. And then like if you get a client in there and you look around in their skin, like bring that topic up. Not that I'm not saying that it would be something that you want to like talk about all the time, but just take note. At least be aware there's like, for example, Eternal uses like 18 pigments. So it's not like there's a million pigments out there to be aware of.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then doing that, and
Right. And
just
then it's all mixing from there.
so if
and then like Jesse Smith one, did you see that? Jesse talking about he only uses 5 pigments to attain all of the color that he.
And then he just mixes everything.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's, yeah, tons of respect to people who do that. I've done that. I've gone back and forth and done that. I do a lot of black and gray now. My color work and stuff, I usually pour them all out just for the ease of it. I got all the colors that I need, but also like there's been plenty of times I used to love just mixing everything. It's just a little extra work.
So if this ban into effect in January in Europe, how long do you think before we are potentially actively affected by it here in the United States, if you had to like guess?
It's a funny question. I forget what they say, and it's just like I hear stuff, and I'm trying to remember whether it was 5 or 10. But the U.S. is definitely maybe even 10 years behind. And then, like for example, I talked to my buddy in Canada at Good Guy Supply, and he's like, you know, Canada's 5 years behind you guys. But I also talked to
Do you
someone from the FDA, and
European
I talked to
artists
someone
moving?
from the FDA, like in what was that?
Do you think maybe we'll have an influx of European artists moving to the United States?
I don't think so. It's a huge process to do that.
Yeah.
Who stands to benefit from any of this though, too? Like, so I know, like, so I could see it getting pushed harder here when there's companies that could benefit from it. So like, what are like, who are the people
Well,
that could
first of
benefit
all, when
off these bans?
I talked to this guy that works for the FDA for like 20 years, and then he lived in Chicago, so he went into like another branch of the government or something. And I hit it off with him, and I was like, what's your opinion? Do you think legislation will come here next year? He's like, no. 2 years? No. They don't have the manpower, first of all, is what he's telling me. They don't have like the resources. That takes a huge like part of the FDA. Like they're really concerned about safety, like in labeling and facilities, your manufacturing processes. When it comes down to what it is in the bottle, if it's labeled correctly, it's made nice, the pigment, what's inside is what you say is inside.
Yeah, I think
I think at least 5 years
yeah,
minimum.
I would be super happy if pigment companies did write down what their pigments were, but I could also see people not wanting to give away the secrets.
No,
But
well,
also I would love to know everything that's in my bottle.
that is public knowledge. That's what Lauren was telling you. Eternal uses 18 powder pigments, and then you can look up what solutions they use to suspend those powder pigments in. So you've probably got alcohol, glycerin, water, plus 18 chemicals. So that's 21 chemicals that you need to know, and you know all of Eternal's.
Do they tell you per bottle though?
You
per
can
ink?
look at
Yeah.
that. be public knowledge. That's what Lauren mentioned at MSDS earlier. That's material safety data sheet. Anytime you have a wet or a dry chemical per OSHA, you need to have labeled what's in that bottle and any corrosive or carcinogenic qualities.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense because
That's all.
I totally hear that. I definitely hear that. The article that you sent me earlier that I was reading was saying that there is absolutely no oversight over how the ink is made or what you have to say about it. So it said
Well,
that anything that you could pretty much write it, like they don't have to disclose what's in the bottle. And so I think that article was a little misled.
That's the thing. Well, like in my perspective, think about my experience here. That my family owns several like restaurants and stuff, and they have people that come in and check our facilities. Like we didn't. We have like the fire marshal.
mhm.
I mean, no sort of. I'm not saying we would do that the wrong way at all,
Yeah.
but it is
Yeah,
self-regulated.
I think that article was pushing more towards the side of maybe they should be illegal type of thing. But it was a relevant article with all these points being made and everything like that. But it did seem to be a little bit more on the like people should be cautious about the ink that they're using type of article. And it was pretty
Well,
long
I
and
think that they
super in
should.
depth, but they were also I don't like, I think most of it was coming from this European standpoint. And I don't like how they made it like, America has no oversight. Anyone can put anything in their inks. It really made it seem like, oh, and like I was like, that didn't really
Well,
sound
like
right,
at the
but I
same
didn't
time,
think
it's
too
like
much
we
about
hate
it.
it, but then like the most of the ink in the world is manufactured here, so they do have like a bit of jealousy, I guess. I'm not going to say jealousy, envy in some way. So we do absolutely, and American is made products are notoriously well made products. So I mean, that it is what it is, but like some of the things that I see and hear, like you should be conscientious. Like if your product is also available on eBay or Amazon, there's certain things you need to ask yourself. Where are you getting it?
This,
Like what exactly are they
I,
writing on the label? What batch lot number?
Right.
yep. This is something that I point out to a lot of artists. It doesn't even occur to some tattooers that they could be buying counterfeit ink, and that's a huge problem as well. Like when like I've talked to people where they're like, "Oh, I've tried this ink and it
Right.
did this."
Amazon sells counterfeit everything. Like, it's
Where did
crazy. It's crazy on Amazon. If you're buying shit from Amazon,
There was a website for a while where you'd go and it was like eternalink.com. It was a absolute identical copy, even to the checkout process. And then that was a big thing in Europe. And it took out, I mean, you're talking of hundreds of thousands of dollars of those inks that go out.
yep,
holy shit.
there was a very specific time when Starbright and Eternal both changed their labels to die cut labels because there were so many counterfeits on the market. Like I've always been on Tommy Supply's mailing list, so I always get like anytime there's news about any of their products, but it was like a really big deal. They were like, do not use ink that doesn't have this label, even if it has our brand on it, da 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 da. And then I start doing more research and find out that this is a huge thing where companies, and I should have known, like people rip off makeup, like there's counterfeit makeup. And that's a whole thing that's really, really dangerous. If you're just getting something that's red in the bottle and you don't know what that pigment is made out of or where it came from or where it was bottled, and you're going to put it in somebody's skin, that's pretty scary. So one of my words of advice always is if you're using Eternal, order your ink from Eternal. If you're using Starbright, order your ink from Starbright or Tommy Supplies. If you know what I mean, like get your ink from a tattoo supplier. Don't order
Here's one thing. Yeah, here's one thing I will
Order.
say. Yeah, like the vendors that we do work with, like it is super convenient to buy your things from one spot. So like if that's your situation, like communicate with them. So like
Yep.
you guys order straight from them, or is there a master distributor, or like where do you get your product? How do you regulate your product? What happens if I have a problem? Do I come to you or do I go to the manufacturer? Just know those things.
And any good buyer is going to be very transparent about where they get their stuff from. You know what I mean? Like for instance, like at True Tattoo Supply, we carry Eternal, and like on the bottles it says packaged by Eternal for True Tattoo Supply. Like you can tell that bottle was made specifically for us and not.
You know why they have to do that? Is because like in general, it's called GMP, general manufacturing practices.
Mhm.
That's part, it's like a huge, you need to do this, and this. And it's like in the form of a recall. Every major ink brand needs to have recall insurance
Yep.
plan. And so in the case of a recall, if you can't specifically find out exactly where all of those batch lots went, then you have to pull all of it. And so
Right.
because they don't want to take that risk, they want to isolate any sort of problem. It's like that's very, very smart for them to do that. I mean, because if not, you have to do a mass recall, and
But
that sucks.
it's an extra level of protection for us as artists, us as collectors. You know what I mean? Like it's so in the United States, this goes back to in the United States, we're self-regulated, but look what Eternal and Starbright and Raw and like look at what all these big ink companies are doing. Everybody's got clean rooms, everybody's trying to be as high tech and ahead of code. You know what I mean? Like in the United States, all of the companies that have any integrity are trying to be so ahead of the game that the FDA doesn't have to regulate us. You know what I mean? Like
I wouldn't say all of them, but I would say the ones
with integrity.
Yeah, because there's been some issues that I've found that I just don't like, and it's like, is this a question of not knowing or ignorance or inability to source certain materials?
I'd love to hear what you're talking about. We could talk about that off air.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with anybody in particular, but like in terms of regulation, there's this thing called they go by AFTO, and I heard Lou reference it when he was talking to Alex for that World Tattoo Events preview thing. And like, I just don't know how to understand these things because there are government recognized agencies. There's one that has a body art committee. And it's like, should we trust them to take care of things for us? They communicate. They're like a mitigator almost to the FDA. So they'll hold conferences, they'll do weekly, newsletters. They stay in contact with the committee, the whole body art committee, which is made up of definitely industry professionals on both sides, like, health professionals, tattooers, and this girl that works for Lou and their, I guess, R&D or something like that, or whatever. She's on the chair, Selena. So there are definitely companies that are in with that or they're out with that, but that is like, they're doing heavy research. They're doing like conferences. They had people from all over the world and Europe kind of like speak at their events. So, I mean, maybe if it's good or bad, I don't know. Maybe we can rely on them to help like be a solid government recognized voice for the industry, but they're not regulating either.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where like it just makes me weary of intentions. You know what I mean? It makes me like I like that you're coming together.
They had some stuff though, like the stuff that I've seen. It's like you're screaming and kicking, and then you open an eye. You're like, well, I mean, it doesn't look so bad because they wrote a really, really nice makeup or tattooing labeling guide. It's like, okay, so we could follow these rules, but then again, I mean, like, I'm for some regulation that that makes sense.
Yeah, one of my fears overall is just that tattooing is going to be treated like every other cosmetic industry, and it's not. It's so much more nuanced, and it should be separate. That's just one of my fears. Like, I just feel like we shouldn't be under the same regulation as eyeshadow. Like, there are similarities, but I don't think we need. I don't know. That's just one of my, for instance, like what codes when the dust settles, what codes is our industry really going to be held to? It just makes me nervous.
I think the most important
more regulations, not fun.
Yeah, the most important aspects are like, was it made in a quality facility? Can your consumer know exactly what it is? Like, do you have recall? Like, do you have a plan? Do you know where things are going? Like, follow the rules, and we'll stay out of your business a little bit. And not just like, imagine your health department and how much money you have to pay for this, and then you have to pay someone to come out and inspect, and you have this and this and this. Those are tons of added costs when you bring the government into anything. And most often they don't know what they're doing. So it's like, well, with regulation comes the regulators, and they all suck almost all the time.
Well,
Just
and
to
how
be honest.
have to have trained our inspectors? You know what I mean? Like at my old studio, we had a new inspector and he was fantastic, but he didn't know anything about tattooing. In our first introduction, he was like, "Hi, I'm such and such. I came from this county. This is what I did, but I've never inspected a tattoo studio." So I was like, "Well," and I just kind of like, he had his checklist obviously, but it was like, well, here's what I do. Here's how I set up. And I like did a mock setup. My sister was with me. I even showed her how, like showed him the whole process. And he was like, "Thank you." No other shop would have ever taken the time to like show me what I need to know. And then from there on, he could be like, okay, so well, going from like my nursing background, it makes sense that this, and this, and you know, but what happens when these ink companies have regulators coming in there that don't know anything about ink? You know, they
Mhm.
used for, or the application, like if they just think, you know, there's 20 bottles of ink on the wall and they've all got to be exactly the same, and they like what it's just all of the unknown. That's all it is. It's just all of
Right.
the makes me nervous. In the grand scheme of things, the legislators could come together and everything could work out and they could determine like, no, what they're worried about in Europe, these colors are safe. These are fine. Like microwaves are worse than these colors. Like
Here's one thing
Right.
that
If
I
anything,
wonder.
they need.
It's
and you're
like
drinking out of is worse than these colors.
it's like behind every single ink company is either like a person or a group of people, and every single person is different. So imagine you have like this class and we're all sitting here doing our own thing, and it's like then you get a teacher's pet, and it's like you hate to love. It's like love to hate the teacher's pet, and they're like, well, I'm doing it this way, and I'm setting this standard, this standard, this standard, and it might be like standards that are maybe potentially unattainable by, so say like the Nexus Group or whatever, something that's got a ton of money, they create a standard that is unattainable by 85% of other ink companies. So say
Yeah.
it's like, and when you're saying like multi-million dollar facilities with this type of this and this type of this,
Mhm.
you would really eliminate a lot of people, create a lot more white
Right.
labeled products.
That kind of answers the
Yeah.
question of who stands to benefit. You know, it's companies that have a lot of money that might be able to follow all those regulations and actually put the money into new
But like,
resourcing or something.
where's that line? Where's the sensible line? Because right now, from what I see in my perspective, it is kind of like a race to establish the standard, in my opinion. But it's also a race right now, and it's a race that it's like a team sport. Tons of these manufacturers are getting together and talking about this, and they're putting a lot of money into lab research as well. I mean, we're kind of sidetracked with the pigment stuff that's happening in Europe, but still, I mean, they have meetings all the time with like what's going on, new research, all sorts of stuff.
Do you think, and this, I'm just your opinion, but do you, when you are interacting with people, do you get more of a feeling of competition or do you get a feeling of cooperation?
Competition,
That's the bummer. That's the thing that's scary.
definitely competition.
We're all working together and then break back apart.
Yeah,
Because that would be different. I'm sorry.
like, you have a great studio, right? And you have 5 artists. And like you guys get along great for a while, but then it's like everybody wants to shine. So when you split, there's like heart in it. So a lot of the companies, sorry if I'm cutting it out, a lot of the companies are related to each other. A lot of the companies came from maybe 1 or 2 or 3, and now there's a million. I can think of in my head, maybe I talk regularly with like 13 manufacturers or so. There's a lot. And a lot of these people are friends, they'll know each other, but they like being the first, or they have a problem with another person, or another person has a problem with so-and-so. So there's really not a single standard voice.
Those things. It's
Yeah.
always hard to get everybody to work together in the group activity for the sake of the group.
I've personally been hurt before myself to a point that I wouldn't even be in the same room. But every single person has the option to ask yourself, like, who is this benefiting? And when you realize you don't put your name in that, the answer has nothing to do with you. Kind of stand back and come together. But like, if that were the case, then how come everybody isn't sharing exactly what pigments pass in Europe? There's
Right.
no communication on that type of stuff.
If in Europe, pigments? Do they ban more pigments in the future? Like,
They
do
will
they
be.
decide first too, and then they'll move on to something else next?
Yeah, reds, yellows, that type of stuff. Well, that's the
So,
plan, but like this is a plan where it's not facing just like a weak little entity. There's a lot of, communication happening now between, you know,
Nope, we're losing you.
they do this following. Sorry. I don't know. I'm on my hotspot if I come back in.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's all okay.
now just get a little
I hear
jumbled.
you. Hear you now.
Cool. Yeah, there's so much happening, honestly. And the best thing to do as a regular tattooer is to not overreact. Don't go down a bad rabbit hole because there's no way to figure it all out.
As is there anything that collectors on that level, because collectors are basically the very bottom tier
Oh.
of this, are equally as affected just like everybody else. So as a collector, what can collectors do? Do you think that petition is helpful? Should collectors get involved and sign that? Should they, like, what do you
Here's the thing about collectors. You can have everybody can be a collector. Not everyone can be a tattoo artist, but what do you have strength in? Numbers. Absolutely. If collectors unite, absolutely, that would be a huge effect. And collectors are everywhere. Collectors are businessmen. Collectors are like influential characters in society. Collectors maybe like have a dad who's in Congress. That would definitely encourage that. The one thing I also want to encourage collectors to do is like, I'm not going to say my ink is the best or anything like that, and I would never say that, but find an ink that actually has really good results, and find one that is like, if you want a long-lasting, bright color tattoo, you want to find like the best ink that lasts over time as well. So, like, if this is a brand new pigment that hasn't been tested and you already have like your half your bodysuit, and then suddenly these regulations go into effect, I mean,
it's going to
the pigments are going to look different over time
Mhm.
because light fastness is a real common thing, and not everyone is using the same premium pigments. And also, like, a lot of people don't know a lot of stuff about pigment and mixing and how to actually get the right color development. So
Yep.
for a collector, I would say it's you don't want to go to an artist and say like, oh, I need you to use this ink because of something I read on the internet. It's not like that. Just go to an artist that like sponsorships are so common and stuff like that. Don't go to an artist that has like a million sponsorships and expect them to actually think that every single thing they're sponsored by is the best product for their client.
That's just the company that's sending them free product.
Sometimes, but like talk to your artist, be like, look, I'm serious about collecting. I want this to last my entire life. What pigments do you use? I don't know if that's like too much to ask, but
I enjoy it when my clients get really specific and ask questions like that, because it lets me know that they care. And if they care to ask, I share any and everything that they want to know.
Right. I feel the same. I feel definitely the same. People always want to apologize after they ask. They're like, oh, sorry, I just kind of curious. It's like, no, please ask me these questions. I would love to tell you about
and sometimes
everything
if
that's
they don't
happening.
ask you, they're gonna hit up us or like whoever it is, and they're gonna sound like so stupid, like, and their email will probably get looked over because it's just like another person that doesn't, they don't have anyone else to ask those questions.
Mhm.
But yeah, concerning would be like the longevity. Like you can look up SDS sheets and see like maybe in other industries or other ways, like how powerful they are. I'm not sure if any manufacturer would give out like light fast testings or not, but there are better pigments than others, that's for sure. And also like the acrylic inks are like, you've always heard powder is power, but a lot of those inks aren't as power, like they weren't using the right blending techniques and manufacturing practices to develop those colors. So like, like that's very cool, but when you look at the longevity of certain aspects of it, some things will last longer and better. And with a lot less loss of color.
Yeah, it's one of the funny challenges about working color with really large palettes is I'm I'm always constantly experimenting with new colors. But like, if I were to just like push my whole palette aside and try something totally new halfway through a project, that could be disastrous. But like adding a few colors here and a few colors there, or like pulling out my go-to canary yellow and putting my raw yellow next to it, and like comparing which one mixes nicer and which one like saturates and like gets in there the first time. And you know what I mean? There's just all those like, a lot of us just need a lot of colors, and it's just like, yes, I could tattoo if you gave me like my concentrates, white and black. If you give me the concentrates, white and black, I can tattoo anything you want me to tattoo. But can I tattoo it more beautifully and more efficiently if I have all the colors I need to do it? Absolutely. And if I do it more efficiently, that means you're out of pain faster. So like, it's so many things where like, even if we still have blues and we still have greens, but like they're different, I now have to work differently on you. And then I have to watch it for the next year and see how it heals and see how those colors hold up to the colors I've been using for the last 13 years. So there's just, I hope everybody comes together, and by the time that it's really an issue here in the United States, I hope there's a much better solution, because I'm just really worried for all the artists in Europe and all the collectors in Europe who like, this is going to be a huge shift that I never even imagined any of us would have to prepare for.
Well, what we're all doing, at least that I think, is creating a very specific line for Europe. And that would all have different formulation and stuff. And who knows, maybe those pigments are better over time, but it will be a shift.
It does
so
make
it's
me,
nothing to be afraid of if it's in the best interest. But
yeah, well,
different, and that sucks. People are like concerned.
you cut
I
out
was just
on
saying, people are concerned about it, and like, even some of the artists that are like regarded as the most respected in the world are.
we're losing Lauren.
You're cutting out.
Sorry, guys, I'm not at home right now, so.
That's okay. That's all right.
Yeah. Well, we're pushing 3 o'clock. It's like 20 till. Do you think we should wrap up, maybe pick up more on session next week?
I think that sounds good. I think that sounds great.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. Definitely appreciate it.
I just know the Save the Ink campaign going on Instagram. Occasionally I have clients asking about it, and they're like, well, what's up? So I just thought it was really important to take a minute and kind of touch on the issue, as I'm starting to get more and more questions, especially as the deadline is getting closer. So I guess not deadline, but the date that everything changes in Europe. But are you still there, Lauren? Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to have you help us sign off, and maybe we'll get together next week and just delve in a little bit further, if that's cool.
Sure. Yeah, it's always something to keep in mind, right? Because this is that's what we see. This is ink, tattoo ink.
Yeah.
So yeah, but thanks you guys. This is going to be episode 64 next week. As always, I'll see you guys, here or be in the background. There's people commenting on YouTube, so thanks for watching.
Awesome.
And yeah, you can find me at Raw Pigments on Instagram.
Well, thanks for taking the time to join us, Lauren. Jordan, thank you for running the show at the start today. I didn't mean to leave you hanging for so long. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Yep. Happy to do it.
All right. Well, back in next week from the mothership.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. Back to normal. We'll see y'all next week.
Okay.